stage, turn this thing up.
All right, everybody, bring it in. You know what that sound is? You know what that sound is? That sound is 100 episodes of the Read Option. All three of us, bottle of champagne.
Drink it in. It always goes down smooth.
It always. See, Scotty's got the flute, or at least the glass. Oh, and Vido does too. I guess I'm going to be the only one just drinking straight from the bottle. But that we're here. 100 episodes. This is also the first episode on YouTube. So for the first time,
Entry mark.
You guys are going to get a chance to watch us, myself, Vido, Scotty. We're all wearing our makeshift outfits. I got a nice red blazer on for those listening on the podcast, a little fancy on the inside. Scotty's got the tie. Vido's got a great old school shirt with the blazer on top. This is huge, guys. This is huge. I've been trying to downplay it because, it's podcasting. Don't want to, who cares about your podcast, whatever. As I was driving home from work today, reflecting, we are over a year in. We're 100 episodes in. We have better numbers than we've ever had. We have more listeners than we've ever had. And I just got overwhelmed with just excitement and pride. And we have a national championship game tonight. It's 5:30 on Monday, April 4th that we're recording this. We have an amazing show, arguably our best podcast. We have guests lined up for the post 100 mark that you guys cannot. I'm telling you, you'll be so excited to get to hear some of those interviews and hear some of the people we have on. This feels like the dawning of a new day for this podcast that we've grown up. We went from being just a small group of friends, getting on Zoom, doing a podcast during a pandemic for our fantasy football league to 100 episodes in to a real freaking podcast. We have national championship. We have a Masters week this week.
Masters week, baby.
I'm overwhelmed. Doctor. I'm overwhelmed with everything. So boys, the whole crew is back together for the first time in a couple of weeks. How are you both doing? It's so wonderful to see you all and to celebrate with you guys, and also to have one hell of a podcast.
I'm good. Century mark. We got the Wilt Chamberlain amount of points he scored in a game in 1962 in this podcast, 100 episodes. And I just thank you so much for everybody who's sticking with us as we continue to grow and talk ball and sports and whatever the hell else we care about. Vido, how's things on are you in Philly now?
Yes, I'm in Philly. I've been
Okay.
around a little bit. Went to Vegas, had a great ass time, bachelor party, then some work stuff. Then, I don't know, Cleveland, DC. I've just been traveling a lot, but having a lot of fun. And dude, I cannot wait to be back here talking sports with you. I've been looking forward to this for a while. And in addition to all the crazy travel and all this crazy stuff, we've had a crazy mark. Oh, there you go. Jeff's holding up the secret 100 sign. I love that. The Wilt Chamberlain drawn on 100.
I had to do it backwards because Zoom mirrors everything.
Yeah. No, but speaking to 100, man, this is a huge deal. And I think back to when we started this, and it started in COVID. And then we started taking it pretty seriously and moving to a regular occurrence. Listen, this podcast is one of the most fun things that we have to do, and a really great product. And Jeff, I just want to take a minute and say thanks, man, because from me and Scotty's perspective, we hop in and out and we're able to because you keep it going every week. So cheers to you, Jeff, sir, and keeping this thing, the quality that it is and the fun that it is.
It doesn't happen without all of us, guys. It really doesn't. Anytime you
Sometimes
guys are,
it does.
Sometimes it literally has to.
Yeah.
Like we don't have any other choice. But this was, like all the episodes where all of us are together are our biggest episodes. The ones that have gotten bigger numbers and stuff. It's with all of us. So. And I'll say this, and not to get too sentimental too early, but we had a conversation on one of those times where I was having a rough mental health stretch, and you guys were like, hey, like, we do this because we believe in you and we believe in this, and this is your career and this is what we want you to do. And I keep that with me all the time. I remember that day. I remember that conversation. And again, none of this happens without you guys. I appreciate the words, but more importantly, none of this also happens without the listeners and the people who support us. Sung bringing Scott's dinner down half the time we're on here, and he's eating in the middle. And you'll get a chance to see that now that we're on YouTube officially. Might even go back through the archives and find our taste test from the Bud Light seltzers in the fall. Yeah. So
we'll have to do a new segment.
Yeah, eats of the week.
What's Scott eating for dinner tonight?
What did Sung bring Scott for dinner today? Excuse me. I'm trying to drink out of a bottle and then, think about podcasting here at the same time. But this all, again, it's been so much fun. It's gotten us through a lot of this pandemic. It's gotten us, the three of us, closer together. And it's created a bunch of memories that we've also been able to have people along for the way and hopefully occasionally teach them or help them better understand some things about football. If nothing else, just to entertain them on their commutes during their days when they need something. So with all that being said and all of the 1 year stuff out of the way, or 100th episode, I should say, we have some sports to talk about, including arguably one of the greatest basketball games and most impactful basketball games in college basketball history, and definitely in my lifetime. A tremendous Final Four, setting up a phenomenal national championship. We are going to do a little bit of time travel on this. I'm going to explain to you guys now, and then hopefully once you hear it, it'll make sense. We are recording this now before the game. It's 5:30 p.m. Eastern time, whatever. Once tip-off goes, we're going to be done recording, except after the game. We're all going to get back on. We're going to talk national champion, who won, because we don't want to wait until Friday's pod to get you guys our reaction for the national championship. I think for football, we pushed the date back to Tuesday, but with Vido adjusting his travel schedule to be here today, we're gonna stick it out. We're gonna go on the midnight grind, and then we're also going to wrap up the pod with a new game that we're going to start trying to introduce here on the pod, as well as just rapid fire random life shit, because I've just this backlog of stuff. So all that's going to get recorded after the game tonight. But before then,
except on the West Coast.
Except on the West Coast. And then we're going to hit the Final Four recap, like I said, preview the game. Big NFL trade with only draft picks involving my Philadelphia Eagles, which is going to be a ton of fun to kind of dive through, because I think it says a lot about both what the Saints are doing this year, as well as what the Eagles mindset is moving forward. And then we're going to do our Masters preview here. And we are loaded with betting. The Masters, majors in general, are my favorite things to gamble on in sports. I'm telling you right now, you can win a lot of money with your top 20s, your top 10s, your top 5s, sprinkle a little bit around. You're going to have a great time doing that. So that's everything we got in here. It's going to be a jam-packed, most likely 2 hours plus. So hang tight or switch us to 1.5 if you need to. All right. Final Four. We're going to start with UNC Duke, and then we'll touch on Kansas Villanova in the back end, because that game was slightly less impactful. UNC Duke, what an unbelievable game. Back and forth. Duke bodied them in the paint. Bencharo was lighting it up in the first half, had his way physically with UNC and the interior. But what I love about this UNC team and what this whole run that they've been on has kind of shown you is this team's ability to just scratch and claw and fight and stay in games. Even you go back to the Baylor game in round 2 when they blew a 25-point lead and all of a sudden they're in overtime against the reigning champs. And yet UNC came out and dominated the overtime. This run for UNC, I think, will go down as one of the all-time runs, especially if they end up winning. This will be in the conversation for one of the best runs through an NCAA tournament, especially when you look at the teams that they beat along the way. So shout out to North Carolina. But before we can get into any more about the Tar Heels, we do have to hit on Coach K. Because if you love Coach K, Saturday night was a sad night for you. If you're a Duke fan, it was a sad night for you. If you are literally anybody else in college basketball, it was an awesome night, because Coach K will go down as one of the most polarizing and interesting characters in the history of collegiate sports and arguably sports as a whole. He's capping off an unbelievable run. And for as much fun as it is to poke at Coach K, I know the Barstool guys have been going nuts, going after Coach K. And there's plenty of things to criticize him about. You have to give props to an all-time great. And so we're going to do that on this pod, as well as get a couple of jokes in here. Scotty, we'll start with you. Coach K's run at Duke, going all the way back to the 80s, all the way up until now, 5 national championships, some of the most memorable teams and players in college basketball history. What will his legacy living on mean? And now that he's going to be gone, what does the future of Duke basketball kind of look like?
It's a laundry list of players, really, when you think about it, and programs that he built. I mean, that entire program was built on Coach K. So it's rare to see that. I mean, even like Roy Williams took over, it was Dean's program, right, at North Carolina. Same thing at Kansas. Bill Self took over for Larry Brown. It was that was their program. So, but at Duke, it was very different. It was just Coach K, and he built that entire program. He made Duke matter. He made college basketball matter, I think, because when Duke started winning and becoming dynastic as they have been over the last 30 years of Coach K's tenure, I dare say that college basketball was on the fringes of a sports watcher society. That he made the tournament matter. He grew the game, and for better or for worse, made Duke better because of it too. So it's going to be a large void to fill. I know we talked about those kinds of voids last year when Roy Williams retired from North Carolina, but this is, I feel like, something completely different. And for someone who was as groundbreaking and to a degree as polarizing as Coach K was in the Duke program, I think it will be a much larger void that needs filled than any previous one we've talked about.
I don't know, man. I think on my take, like for me, seeing him leave basketball is sad. I'm not a huge fan, but he's in college, right? And sports in general, you see flashes of players, but in football, you get to know them over a couple of years, and the great ones leave 3 years in. In basketball, it's completely different. The cycle of players is so much faster. It's hard to get a 4-year starter, right? Like that's rare. I think where I'm going with this is that the figure that Coach K mattered to his sport so much more than it does to a lot of other folks. Mm-hmm. And for me as a casual fan, he is one of the people that I gravitate towards. And I know, like, when I watch Duke basketball, like I know that face, I know his teams. Like, yes, the players change, but I know they're going to be tough and they're going to play well. And like, it's at least going to be a game where I can see someone like fun to watch, and he's going to get good recruits. So for me, seeing him leave is like a sad moment for me. I'm not even a Duke fan, but I personally it was a sadder moment than I thought I would have as a casual fan, I guess is what I'm saying. I thought I wouldn't care. And I was like, damn, like this sucks. I really wish he was at least go to the finals or come around next year. Like, I just wanted the best for him to finish out, because I personally, he's a GOAT, and like, he's just amazing at what he does and has done it for so long. You just hope that they go out on top or have some perfect ending, but it's never perfect. Even the perfect endings, you wish you could play one more year or coach one more year. So yeah. I don't know, but for me, that was my like viewpoint on it from, I guess, a more casual college basketball fan.
The storylines were all there too. Like it was a perfect storybook. But you can't lose like that to your arch rival.
Oh man, give all the credit though.
In the spot, no, I'm not discrediting North Carolina.
No, I know you're not. Yeah,
but like, you cannot lose if that was St. Peter's. Like, that loss does not hurt as much. Like that sucks. Your career's over in the Final Four.
I know, but lost to losing to a 15 seed in the Final Four.
No, but the narrative would have been about St. Peter's. It wouldn't have been about Coach K lost to St. Peter's. The narrative would have been the story that the Cinderella made it to the final.
They upset Coach K. But I think this is the point, though. I think for me, what's crazy about it is that had, like you're saying, the storybook was written that, okay, you lose in your final home game to North Carolina, but you have a chance to beat them in the Final Four and then go on and win a championship, or at least make it to the final as Coach K, and like get to the last game of the season. Wow. And the fact that they came back and beat them again is like, dude, UNC fans must be having so much fucking fun right now.
North Carolina has won the rivalry. It's over. It's done.
Like, you beat.
It's done. They'll always have.
Loss, right? Yeah. There was first loss and there was last loss. And there's something poetically just about wrapping that up. And as great as Duke has been, you're right. Like, just the fact that they beat him at home, they beat him in his last home game, Coach K's, they beat Coach K in his last game period. Like, that's just something to know. Like, that's got to bother you so much that your rival did that. Like, for me, that's enough to be like, I'm coming back. No, I'm not leaving out like that.
It's over. It's from the top row, but he can't unretire like Tom Brady, right? Or can he? I don't know.
And he especially can't, because he just did this freaking tour where everybody, sucked them off for the last year, and like, look, I don't want to get into the negative stuff with K yet, and we'll get to there in a second. I want to stay positive here, because to me, Coach K deserves an insane amount of credit for being one of the most significant people in the history of the NCAA. That
Mm-hmm.
it's the
Yeah.
cliche, right? You can't write the history of college athletics without this person. That's how it kind of feels, right? But you can't. He was that significant and means that much to the sport as a whole that you have to give him his props, right? The thing about Coach K that has honestly impressed me the most about his whole tenure is that when he started, right? He went to Army at West Point, played, was a disciple of Bobby Knight, right? He is of the Bobby Knight coaching tree. He was a player for him. And he was as old school gets. You think about those 80s and 90s teams, even like Jay Billis, like when he was early there, like the whole idea was you're going to Duke because Duke's an amazing school. You're going to come here. You're going to get a 4-year education. You're going to graduate. And then if you're good enough to go play in the NBA, you can go and do that. And that was what the entire reputation of Duke basketball was about. It was about going there, student first, and it was playing Duke basketball. It was cohesiveness. It was experience. You always had seniors. You always had the upperclassmen that would teach the younger guys. And it was that way for 20 plus years, the 30 plus years, honestly, until John Calipari decided we're going to change how we do things here. And we're going to go into the one and dones. And Coach K went, well, I was the best at building my program this way. Well, I'm going to become the best at building my program a different way. And he
guys like
he
Zion
out one and done.
JR.
Yeah, he out one and done Calipari, the guy who created it. And that moment to now where Calipari isn't a one and done guy anymore. He's more in the transfer portal. He'll pull in some older guys, but Calipari basically had to stop because of that year you just alluded to, where it was Zion, RJ Barrett, and Cam Reddish, who were 1, 2, and 3 in the recruiting rankings, and Coach K got them all. And haters are going to say, all right, but they did it illegally. They paid them all. All right, fine, whatever. You want to say that? Sure. But so was Cal and so was everybody in college basketball at that time. Anyway, so it was relatively even playing field. Coach K just had he had the reputation, right? He had that kind of gravitas to him. In addition to the fact that he revived USA basketball. When Coach K took over USA basketball, they had lost to Argentina in the gold medal game. Right? Losing to Art, and now granted, like Manu Ginobili was on that team. They had some good players, but in 2004, USA basketball became a joke because nobody cared about it. And Coach K went in and he took Kobe and he took a young LeBron and a young KD and he took all of these guys together. And in 2008, they absolutely wiped the floor with everybody.
God, that was so fun.
Yeah. I know we talk about the 1992 Dream Team, and that team's unbelievable.
But 08 was,
But the 08 team arguably might be better when you look at who was on that team and what they've done since then. And Coach K deserves all of the credit for that. Every time you hear these guys who never played in college, LeBron, Kobe, these guys who have said in the past, if I'd gone to college, I would have played at Duke. And a huge reason of that is because of Coach K and his adaptability, his growth, the self-awareness, the understanding of it. People talk about all the time, we need a commissioner for college football. We need a commissioner for college basketball. Coach K actually should be that because he has the experience necessary he knows how they work. No shot against the presidents or anything, but they don't understand how complicated of a business the NCAA and sports as a whole in college athletics has turned into. And Coach K knows it perfectly. Nick Saban knows it. Like if Saban retired, I would say the same thing about him for college football. And I think so. You have to give Coach K credit for that. Now, with all that being said, Roy Williams, Scotty, you and I sat on this pod. It was almost like an emergency pod or whatever. It broke right before we were recording about a year ago. It might have been a little less than a year ago when Roy Williams retired. And he retired. He hired he brought on Hubert Davis, a former player. He had a lovely send-off. He didn't tell anybody. He didn't go on this year-long tour so everybody could tell him how great he was. He genuinely never made it about himself. The thing I'll never be able to stomach with Coach K is that he does make it about himself a lot. If they lose, there was a couple of games that he lost, and he would go back and say, oh, well, my back was hurting me or I wasn't feeling well that day. As a coach, he's making these excuses, right? He was so egotistically driven through a lot of this, especially in the later parts of his years, that I had no sympathy when they lost. I was actively rooting for North Carolina to end Coach K's career in a way that you said, Scotty, will forever put North Carolina ahead of Duke, because there is nothing in forever that any Duke fan can say unless they win every game against them for the next 10 years.
Oh, no, I don't think even that matters. I think you got to beat them in a national championship. That's the only way that gets done.
It might be
Ever.
It honestly might be.
And look, I think a lot of what you're saying, the points about the egotistical nature of Coach K making it about himself, I think that's where a lot of people plant their flag in this rivalry. Is like, I either like Duke, I watch the players that I like because they get the best talent and they're a really electric team, and I like the way that Coach K teaches them, or you're North Carolina and you're like all about the players and the point I'm making is that like Coach K made Duke make you think that Duke is better than everyone. Like there's that era of the school, let alone the basketball program.
It's the
like
Yankees,
we think
right?
we're better than you.
It's
and we
Yankees,
know we're better
Cowboys, Duke. Like it's in that grouping of schools. And I love
I view it a little differently. I
Okay.
just think that like Coach K is a guy who I think because of his background, I heard him speak once, and it was a combined thing. But the point is there's some other coaches that were speaking, and I'll never forget. Like it was crazy. It was him and Joe Paterno, and they were talking. This is like in 2010 about like what it means to be long lasting success in a college sport, and they were different, and they were going back and forth. And I think what I took away from that the most was like how much he did emphasize players, and yes, it may not come through all the time, and he probably does have some egotistical side. I mean, I know if I were in his spot, I would. I wish I wouldn't, but that's just the God's honest truth. And
I think all of them have that, by the way.
I think does.
If you're at that level,
right?
You have it. It's there's no
you're people that come to the school who you've never met and say, I came here because of you. Like
we don't get to that level without having that, though.
Right.
Like,
exactly. You have to believe in yourself. Like, yes, you are better than everyone to get there. And I think to your guys' point is that like, depending on how you interpret that message, I think is either like he wants his team to believe they're the best and like go out and perform that way, or you take it definitely as like, which I totally understand the other side of like, this is way too much, dude, shut up. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's a point in every fan where you have a coach and your friend's like, I love that guy. And you're like, no, dude, hell no. That guy sucks because of A, B, C, and D, and they're all personality traits. And like, you know what I mean? And like, I just totally get it. It's just funny though, without a doubt, like I fall on the side, I think as, again, a more casual fan of like, man, I think no matter what, the few times I heard him speak that were like planned or published, he was very much about players and everything like that. But I haven't seen him a lot directly after a loss, which is probably where you're going to show a lot more of your colors and emotional points,
and
right?
To his credit, like in the press conference, I actually thought he handled the press conference great. He was joking around with the media. It was more lighthearted. But there's moments like, do you remember last year? I think it was last year. It might have been 2 years ago. He like scalded a student reporter and was like, "This is not how you mention it." And it was like a totally fair, valid question. And he embarrassed a student reporter on a Zoom in front of. Like, that's the kind of shit with him that he does and gets away with because he is Coach K. And then slowly over time, you think, oh, yeah, it's Coach K. It's great. Casual fits. Oh, once a year, we see Duke. You see Coach K if you're only watching around then. I don't want to take away anything from what he's accomplished. But to say like in the game that they lost, oh, this is all about the kids. This is all about the kids. Right. And he says that over and over and over again. But if it really was, then you wouldn't have had this year. Right. You know, Roy Williams was around North Carolina this year to help Hubert Davis along. But it was his team, and he picked the guy that he wanted, and he said, hey, Hubert, this is going to be your team. I'm here as a resource, but this is your team. Run it how you want. Coach K hand selected the coach that he wanted, John Shire, which actually wasn't the coach in waiting that the university wanted to hire, who was a totally different person. And Coach K overruled. Really? Yes.
Oh, that's fucking wild. I didn't know that.
Of it, like, yeah, so this is the stuff where it's like, I don't want to be, hey, this career great just ended. And we do this too when people die. Like if a celebrity dies but has like baggage, you'll see people on Twitter immediately jump on and be like, well, this person was a huge piece of shit. I'm like, okay, maybe, but can we just like pump the brakes for a second? You know, unless we're talking about a dictator here, I don't think the first thing we have to say after somebody dies is, oh my God, what a jerk this person was. Right. But in this case where we're talking about a guy retiring, I think both can be I think you can celebrate both. I think it's fair to criticize him and say that it's hypocritical for him to have said all year, it's about the kids, it's about the kids, it's about the kids. But in reality, he wanted the send-off. He wanted people to give him the adulation. And you know what? We're sitting here celebrating 100 episodes of a podcast that doesn't have some massive following. So I get it. I get wanting to feel like, you know what I did, what we've accomplished, even something as insignificant as what we've done here compared to the unbelievable career of Coach K. I do get that. But it's also fair to criticize. I think both can be true. And
it can be. It doesn't have to be all good or all bad. We live in a gray world. And exactly. I think the more people realize that and realize like there's a lot of gray here, just you don't need to emulate everything about one person. 100%. That's never a good idea.
100%. So shout out Coach K. Have a wonderful retirement. I cannot wait to not see you on the sidelines in the future, if I'm just being honest. And you know what? Here's the last nice thing I'll say about Coach K before we move on. Credit to him, because it only took until age 74 to stop dyeing his hair pitch black. And now he just does like touch of gray instead. So good for you, Coach K. Good for you.
Enjoy, Coach.
Enjoy retirement. All right. UNC though, amazing run. I want to add some context to this because thinking back in the course of NCAA history, the lowest seed to ever win a national title was 1985. It was Villanova with Raleigh Massimino against Georgetown. They were an 8 seed. All right. A couple years before that, NC State, Jimmy V. Everybody loves Jimmy V, right? The V Foundation. They were a 6 seed when they won in 1983. Since then, the next closest we've had, and we're going all the way back to 1985, was Butler in 2010 when they were a 5 seed.
Ooh.
So for historical,
what was UConn that year that they made that run? I thought they were a 7.
I don't think we'll get Zach Parker on it. We'll get
Zach Parker's on this stats.
Shout out to Zach Parker. He's our stats and info guy.
He
doesn't like to pop up on the Zoom all that much. He's a little self-conscious about how he looks, which, hey, I get it. Not everyone wants to be seen. Some people are behind the scenes guys. UConn, I think, was a 6 seed that year. So you're right. I might have missed them as well. That's going to be my guess. I'm going to say 6 or a 4. Regardless, though, we're talking about elite level company and what this UNC team is on pace to do. The other thing about this run that UNC's done is they took down the defending national champions and one of the best programs in college basketball in Baylor. They then beat UCLA, right? Another blue blood who had a really good team and they actually had to fight back in that game against Mick Cronin's squad. Great head coach. They knock out the Cinderella story, cold-blooded, absolutely beat the doors off of St. Peter's. And now they're beating the crap out of they just beat the crap out of their rival Duke on Saturday night, setting up a matchup with Kansas, who is another blue blood. Who these guys on this UNC's team, their old coach, Roy Williams, started his coaching career at the highest level with Kansas, won a national title with Kansas, had an unbelievable run with the Jayhawks. So this is a little bit of the Roy Williams Bowl, Roy Williams championship game here. But it's a pretty remarkable run. And even if, did Zach get what we have here, Vido?
Yeah, I got Zach just hit me up. He said they're a 7 seed.
7 seed. Okay.
UConn was 7 seed in 2014.
There we go. So 2014 UConn added to that list as well. But we're talking about since 1983, we have a 6 seed in 83, an 8 seed in 85, a 5 seed who lost in 2010, and then a 7 seed who won it all. And what was one of the weirdest and worst national championship and just kind of NCAA tournaments of all time with UConn. And I believe that was Kevin Ollie was the head coach of the Huskies at the time.
Napier. Yep.
So this is truly elite company if UNC is going to be able to pull it off. Now, it doesn't feel like it has that same gravity, A, because of the significance of the game against Duke, but B, because it's UNC. They're a blue blood, right? They're like arguably the blue blood. They're up there in the top 3. And it's like, oh, of course, North Carolina's in there. They're a freaking 8 seed. And if you watch this team in the regular season compared to what they are now, they are such totally different teams.
Yeah, 100%. They got the doors blown off them by Kentucky in December, like by 30.
Kentucky by 20 to Duke as well the first time.
Yeah, first time they lost to Miami, they lost to Wake Forest, they lost to Notre Dame, and they lost to Pitt too. And a slow start, and for first year coach Hubert Davis to be able to be like, look, this is not North Carolina basketball. For the way that he rallied to get them to the conference title game, even in the ACC, losing to Virginia Tech. Go Hokies. But to get them to that point after the teams that they had lost to along the way, just a stellar job. And like, obviously he has some prime talent. I'm not sure how many guys he lost when Roy Williams said he was going to retire.
They lost a couple guys to the transfer portal.
Yeah, that's what I had thought. But for the fact that he had the talent around him and the guys willing to buy in to the philosophy that he's bringing to Carolina basketball, just an unbelievable job by Hubert Davis, and nothing but credit to him and his staff.
First year head coach. There's only been one to ever win the national championship in their first year. I believe it was something Phillips. I might have that wrong. We might need Zach to get back on that in a second here.
Zach's on it.
But that is a pretty remarkable thing, right? And I'll be the first one to admit I had no idea what to expect with Hubert Davis. We knew him from College Game Day. He was on with Reese Davis. He was on with those guys for a long time. And Jay Billis, he was there. He was one of those key guys. He had a good NBA career. I think he played about 8 to 10 years, something like that in the NBA. He was never an all-star. But what he is he's a quintessential North Carolina guy. He's a quintessential Tar Heel. He understood what that culture is. And again, culture is a buzzword. We always talk about new head coaches in all sports. Oh, we got to come in and implement a culture. Well, cultures are something that develop over years and years and years. And when we're talking about blue blood programs, especially something like North Carolina, some place that had Dean Smith, right? And then Roy Williams, and they had a couple coaches in between there. But we're talking about a history and a heritage with that team and that program that has lasted 60, 70, 80 years, however long the program's been around. I mean, yeah, Michael Jordan, right? I mean, it's the home of the greatest basketball player of all time. So I can't speak highly enough about the job Hubert Davis has done. And what really sold it home to me was the way he acts in-game interviews, right? We see coaches, the Lane Kiffins, get your popcorn ready. We've seen stuff like that over
He's
over
so
time.
raw. He's so very personal. It's like an average guy.
He cut off Tracy Wolfson before she even finished her question in the in-game interview. You hear him talk about it after the game. And that quote, I brought it up last week with you and me, Scotty, but that quote from him where he said, there's 3 kinds of people in the world: those who don't want to fight, those who are willing to fight, and those who are looking for a fight. And we got a team who's looking for a fight. Like, that's a dude who, right?
Chills.
Like, what a fucking line. And he drops that out in a press conference. And all of a sudden I'm like, I'm all in on UNC. And I had talked about this before the tournament start, or before when we did our live pick. I had them getting to the Elite 8. I had no idea they would get this far. I believed in what I had seen, the transformation over the years. We're talking about a team who had single-digit losses in total, and yet they were an 8 seed. And everybody said the ACC was down, which it absolutely was. But I don't think enough props can be given to Hubert Davis and to that team. I mean, they played Marquette in the first round too. I mean,
Shaka Smart.
Great coach, great program over every single one. They had the St. Peter's thing, but if you're St. Peter's, you're rolling the hot hands, right? You're the dude on the craps who hasn't rolled a 7 in 2 hours, and you're just boom, right?
Speaking
that was St. Peter's, and unbelievable. We had a craps conversation the other day. Actually,
I played so much craps this week, guys. I was in Vegas, and then when
I said that. We said that on the pod.
Dude,
I said craps and roulette.
Craps.
Those are Vito's games.
Oh,
I said no question.
Guys.
I forget I don't even know if this was an on-air thing or if we're bringing this in. I think it was on the podcast last week, but I swear we had this conversation. And I said to Scotty, I was like, I guarantee you Vito's a craps guy.
Oh yeah.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah. Right. Of course it does.
So much sense.
I'm a vibes guy, but Zach had got back to me. He will be the 5th coach to take his team to the finals in his first year. The only coach to win it is Steve Fisher from Michigan in 1989.
Wow. I was going to say Steve Phillips, and I knew that was wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Fisher.
He was the only other one. So, I mean, this could be not only elite company. You're talking about, again, they are an 8 seed, but to your point, I mean, everyone I hear UNC, and I'm like, they're an 8, but it's UNC, it's going to be fine. But
I should have seen this when I was picking my brackets. UNC 8 seed. Come on. They're not an 8
I really do believe
they're never an 8 seed.
But I really believe that when you look at all of that stuff, like what people were talking about before the tournament, the way they had beaten Duke, everything that led up with them, you cannot give enough credit to the coach, because not only that, being a first-year coach, replacing a legend. Like,
Mhm.
there's a lot of excuses for players to go off and do what they want or take it a little different and be like, oh, the old guy, it was the old way. And now we got some new, like, this team sees dialed in, like you guys said, and they have to be dialed in to make it this far. So credit to the coach, because that's what it takes. Like, it takes a great coach to get your team ready for something like this.
It does. And to that point, I think this is where Duke next year falters, where UNC succeeded this year, is because it was Roy Williams saying, hey, Hubert, this is your program. Do what you want. I'll take a step back. I'm here as a resource if you need me, whatever you want. But I feel like, and at Duke, Coach K is just going to be like, I'm on retirement, man. I'm in Florida. I'm hanging out.
You got your year.
You're on your own. You got your whole thing.
I think K will be around to an extent. I think K might be the guy who like hangs around a little too much, like the guy who like retires
He'll be like the
from
AD.
a company. But
they'll
still,
ask him to be the AD, and so he's like way too involved in the basketball program only, though,
In
right?
the
They
business.
just
Biz
hired a
ops.
new AD, Mike White. They just hired, who's great AD. But that's Coach K will be the dude who retires, but then still goes back to the company that he founded. It's like a guy owns a company, he finally retires, sells his stocks, but it's his company still. He's still the founder, so he still kind of just pops back.
I have an office. It's in the deal. Yeah, I have an office still. Yeah.
So speaking of office, though, and this will be the last thing we hit on before we hit Kansas and Villanova, because I do want to touch a little bit on that.
Mhm.
When Roy Williams announced he was retiring, Hubert Davis said that Roy Williams offered him his coach's office. I'll get my stuff out. You can move it in. And Hubert Davis said no. He was like, no, that's your office. He's like, I want you to have a place that you can bring your grandkids. You can bring your kids back. When we have games, when we have people here, I want you to have a place that is yours, because you are why this program is where it is right now. And I just, again, that respect for the place he comes from, the program being what it means to be North Carolina. I remember hearing that in his opening press conference last year and being like, man, this Hubert Davis dude might be onto something. I didn't think it would happen this quick, but I said it when we were making picks. I said this would be the thing that launches the, Hubert Davis era at North Carolina, and it absolutely has. So shout out to the Tar Heels. Kansas, North, and Villanova. My boys did not get it done. They were unmanned. They were downmanned. They gave a valiant effort, man. They really did. They got it down to 6. But when Kansas is shooting 65% from the field, they shoot like over 60% from 3. There's just nothing. There's nothing Villanova can do. Maybe if they were fully healthy, but even if they're fully healthy, I don't think you can beat a team that is playing that well and just isn't missing shots.
Kansas has looked like the best team in basketball, let alone in college basketball period, since the second half of the game against Miami.
Now, granted, that's been like a game and a half, but
I mean, I don't know. From my standpoint, like, I think what's interesting about this game was that the only team I've really paid attention to is Nova. So I feel like this is my chance to get analytical. They, without a doubt, got into a place. It's like a team that loves to run the ball in football, and then they get down and they have to throw it. Villanova always took the clock down to like the end of the shot clock. And they talked about that a lot leading into the tournament. And I was like, okay, cool. And I was watching it. I'm like, oh my God, get a shot. And then they get a pass with 3 seconds left, and it's a guy wide open and he takes it, make or miss. It's a good quality shot. And I'm like, holy shit. It was like basketball watching anxiety, seeing how long they took it into the play clock. Yeah. Especially
shoot.
Oh my God. I yell that a lot when I'm watching Nova. But in this game, they got into a point where they needed to shoot much earlier in the clock than they probably normally would have. And you could tell it created some discomfort because a lot of players, and I don't know, a lot of the folks by name, but you could see a lot of different players get the ball and almost like their natural move was to pump fake and look. And they were like pump faking, like, oh shit, I should shoot. And then they end up shooting, and it was like out of rhythm. Well, and that's what I mean. Like, but it was out of rhythm. It wasn't their identity. And I think when that got away, it was a little wild. I can't believe they got it back to 6. I really can't. That was a great effort.
It shows the resilience of AJ Wright as a head coach and what he's done with that program. I mean, I will defend Jay Wright to the end of time. I will defend Villanova. I still think he's the best coach in college basketball. But what you said there, Vido, is 100% right. And it came down to the fact that they were used to playing with about 5 guys and occasionally a 6th guy all year. and one of those 5 guys was out. And when you think about the thousands and thousands and thousands of hours these guys practiced, played together, the chemistry, you take something out like that, right? If you have some sort of mechanism that has all these different parts together and it runs smoothly, the second you take that out and replace with something that just doesn't quite fit, it's not going to work the same, right? And that's Villanova basketball. Villanova basketball is a machine. And the second you take out one gear and replace it with a gear that's not quite perfect, it's not going to run the same way. And Scotty and I were watching the first half of the game together, actually.
Yeah. They look lost.
And they just
really did without Justin Moore.
It was everyone just Colin Gillespie, had 3 turnovers in the first 5 minutes of the game. That is so unlike him, because he was getting doubled and everyone was looking around saying, what are you going to do? Well, what are you going to do? And well, what's Colin going to do? And then
you're not going to pass to me. You're the shooter. Like, what are you?
And it was clear that there was this, depth in college basketball isn't essential unless you have one of these huge injuries. Right. And then all of a sudden it becomes important. The other thing that Nova didn't have is they had no answer for McCormick down low. McCormick just absolutely bodied them on the glass. The amount of second, even when it got down to 6 points, there was 3 chances at a defensive rebound for Villanova to get the ball back and go down and score and get it to, a 3-point game or a 4-point game. And every single time Kansas just bodied them and got the offensive rebound and was able to get easy putbacks. And that's why I say Kansas played a flawless game. Now you take that and you push it ahead, because as much as I love Villanova, I don't think any team in the tournament could have beaten Kansas on Saturday. Not a single one. If Kansas plays that way, which again is having an insane shooting night, or again, shooting like 65% from the field, it's hard to beat any team in college basketball when they're shooting 65% of the field. So for Kansas to have that dominant game, to play great in the second half against Miami and carry that over a week later and take it to Villanova, the question now is, did Kansas play their best game? Is Kansas going to be able to keep this rolling against a team that is gritty, a team that has size, a team that matches up really, really well against them, and is coming off of a super emotional win? So again, I'll let everybody know, after this segment, you're going to hear our championship reaction. You're going to hear us post-championship. We'll break it down for you guys then. But now that we've kind of gone through it and everyone can hear how stupid we sound, what are your thoughts for the game coming up tonight? Scotty, you go first.
It's a letdown game from North Carolina. They already won their national championship. Kansas is going to roll.
See, that's okay. All right, Vido, go ahead.
My boys, shout out JT, avid listener. It was his bachelor party I was at in Vegas last weekend with all KU boys. Let's go.
Chalk.
We are going with Kansas to win against UNC. And you know what? I just got to roll with my Vegas boys. Hey,
do you know the
Espresso Martinos, baby? Espresso Martinos.
Wow, you were drinking those? Oh man,
Espresso Martinis so much. We were drinking Espresso Martinos. We were drinking them so much we started calling.
That was the singer at the lounge.
Espresso Martinos.
Yeah, the singer, right? The singer at the lounge, Scotty. That was her name, Espresso.
Yeah, right. The second to last time that Kansas played, and Kansas dominated this matchup each of the last 3 times that they played in the tournament. But the second to last time they played was in 2008, that Mario Chalmers shot. One of the greatest shots in the tournament in the Final Four.
I'm hearing revenge. I'm all in on North Carolina. I wish this was a nice Carolina blue jacket. I could not be, and it's not because there is red in the Kansas uniform. I'm all in on North Carolina. North Carolina money line is the bet tonight. Give me the Tar Heels. They remind me a lot of Baylor last year, where the sum of their parts is greater, right? Or whatever that expression is, right? The total is bigger than the sum of their parts, however it is. I love North Carolina. I love this team. I love the grittiness. And the thing is, the last game at against Coach K and Cameron, that was supposed to be too big of a moment for them, right? And they did it. And then they can't do it twice. Look at the pressure that's on this North Carolina team. They battled back through that game time after time, and they still got it done. I don't care about anyone in Kansas. I'm sorry. Shout out to your boy. Congratulations. I hope you have a wonderful marriage. Your team's losing tonight, and this is all Tar Heels. It's Jordan, baby. And here's the thing. When you lose,
he's playing.
When you lose,
you'll be crying later, Scott. Don't worry.
When you lose on the greatest shot in basketball history, maybe sports history, with Chris Jenkins hitting a buzzer beater to win the tournament, the good luck karma will forever be on your side. You get like 20 years of good karma after your team loses like that, after Marcus Page hit that unbelievable shot. So the Tar Heels are going to get it done. It's the dawn of a new day for Hubert Davis and the boys. And with that, we're going to take a break. All right, we are time travelers, and the Kansas Jayhawks are your national champions, thanks in part to arguably one of the biggest choke jobs I've ever seen in the history of sports. This is a wild, wild night. Congratulations, Kansas. Absolutely win it. I felt really good about my pick at halftime. I told you guys I was picking out my blue blazer. I switched into my Tar Heel colors. I had even a matching tie to go around my head. I was all sold out here. And the North Carolina Tar Heels just blew away one of the biggest choke job. It's unbelievable. I honestly, I cannot believe what we just watched. Instant reaction to the two guys who picked it. Vido, we'll start with you. Reaction to the national championship game.
I just can't believe in that second half how quickly basically Kansas came back from down 15 to get within striking distance. It took no time at all. It was like that. And they hung around. They without a doubt dominated up front. And that's what made the difference in this game. Man, that was fun as shit. Just rooting for Kansas and having that bet to go down 15 and still end up winning. I'm looking at, like I said, Jefferson is baby blue, and I'm wearing some too, but it feels good that I was wearing mine beforehand and chose Kansas and still had them come out on top. That was crazy, man. What did you think, Scott?
You know what's wild is just about every year I pick one of these two teams, and it's one of these two teams or another blue blood like Duke or UCLA or whatever in the tournament, and we get to this point in the year, and half the time I'm kicking myself, like, why didn't I pick one of these teams? And the other half of the time I'm like, yeah, of course they lost in the round of 32, and this is one of the years where, and I don't know about you, Jeff, or Vido even, but I was filling out my brackets and I'm like, damn it, this is going to be a bracket where I'm going to pick either Duke or UCLA or Kansas to win the thing, or North Carolina. And I don't like any of those picks this year. And lo and behold, Kansas, finds their way through and pulls it out. So,
Scotty, are you aware that you picked Kansas to win the national title in our read option bracket?
I did. It was just I did like 20 brackets, man. Like it was a blur.
So it's a Mickey Mouse win for you. It's a Mickey Mouse win for you. But you went from being in dead last in our brackets and me being in literally the top like 1,000 brackets in the country, but going into the Elite Eight, to you have now.
So I won the read option.
Won the read option bowl back.
I won the read option cup in fantasy. I won the read option bracket pool. What's next?
There's
nothing but greatness on the horizon.
Back-to-back years. One of us on the read option here picked a winner for the tournament. We're not going to harp on too long because it's late and Vito's got an early flight. But a couple things I want to hit here. And Scotty, you and I were kind of arguing here before we hopped on. This doesn't take away from what North Carolina fans will have over Duke.
God, no.
But, and don't interrupt me here, Scotty, because I can already feel you're trying to cut me off. I know when you're in these kinds of moods. I just know it. What it does do is it allows Duke fans to have just enough ammo, just enough of a little bit. Not that it's going to affect North Carolina fans because they still know, yeah, we killed Coach K. But blowing a lead like this, in a national championship, when you're up 15 points, absolutely smoking Kansas, and for them to come out and erase that lead, as Vido pointed out. I mean, we were a minute into the second half, and all of a sudden 15 turned to 9, right? I went to go up and take a piss. North Carolina was up 1. I come back, and all of a sudden Kansas is up 6. Like, the tide turned so quickly. It felt so similar to the end or to the second half against Miami, right? It felt similar to when they just came out and turned it up against Kansas and Villanova right off the get-go.
It did.
And again, North Carolina will have the bragging rights over Duke, but this absolutely wholeheartedly softens the blow for Duke fans. It gives them just enough to hang on to.
I mean, it's at least like you're saying, well, UNC didn't win. I get what you're saying. Like there's something there about like
not just
that
didn't win,
rivalry.
but it choked. One of the biggest choke jobs I've ever seen in sports.
I think that they almost like blew it so fast that it's not even that big of a choke job because it's like you didn't even have it that long. Like I just couldn't believe how quickly they gave that up in the second half. I don't think I've ever seen something like that where a team looked so dominant and then just fell flat so quickly. Like,
well, they did it in the Baylor game though. That's what I'm, that's what I keep going back to is like, it's like they did this exact thing in the Baylor game and managed to hang on enough to force it to overtime and then get a win. Like I don't understand the rhetoric behind like, well, this was just a terrible job by the North Carolina team. And granted, like, look, they were banged up. Like Baycock got hurt on that one play late in the second half, and it was like that was kind of it. Like they were within 3 or 4 at that point, and Baycock gets hurt.
It was. I think it was actually a 1-point game, and even still, there was like 40 seconds left, and losing Baycott, and I even said in that group like that was the final nail in the coffin. But even still, they had a chance there because Kansas ran out of bounds on the inbound play. That North
and they were abysmal at free throws. Like it was a whole
North Carolina had a shot there to win it. But the one thing is, and while I will say this is an absolute choke job by North Carolina, there is no argument about that. Like, as much as I want to defend them and the run has been spectacular and all this stuff about UNC, which is well-deserved, this is a choke job. It is. And they have to be held to that standard. I don't want to take anything from Kansas because I saw Kansas go out to that 7-0 lead tonight. I saw them go out to a 10-0 lead against Villanova. They started hot both times. And then just as quickly as North Carolina lost the lead in the second half, they took the lead back from Kansas. And it says a lot about Bill Self and this Kansas team where that dude, Remy, whatever his last name is.
Remy Martin.
1738. Yeah. That kid, I said this in the group chat. I was like, he is the absolute worst person to ever play pickup basketball with because he just was full court press, had his man up and down all 90 feet the entire time. Like absolute annoying.
I've described him as the Russell Wilson of basketball.
Sure. I said this to you guys too. I think this Kansas team is pretty sneakily unlikable. I'm not going to lie. However, I think when all is said and done, when you look at the entire scope of the college basketball season, I think Kansas was probably the best team start to finish. If not the best, they were in the top 3. Yeah, they had the blowout loss against Kentucky. But other than that, they played really good basketball from start to finish. They had the easiest path to the Final Four, but they then had Villanova, and then they had UNC, 2 really tough teams to finish out on. So I'm not trying to take anything away because they absolutely earned it on this comeback here. Like, I'm not taking it away from them. They earned it by that comeback. That comeback alone cemented the fact that they were deserving of the national championship.
And they earned it by getting that 1 seed, right, Scott? Because you're going to say, I know you're going to like look at they had Texas Southern, Creighton, Providence, Miami.
No. I'm not going to tell you how they got there. What I'm going to tell you is that we say this every year. Like Kansas is one of the best teams in the country, and like of course, there's no denying that. They're always one of the best teams in the country as long as Bill Self is the head coach there because of the talent he recruits, because of the teams that he coaches. And we find ourselves every year like deciding whether or not like Kansas was actually good because they got beat in the second round of the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8. And it's like now that they finally eclipsed that hurdle again for the first time since 2008, like we're talking about the same thing, just like in a slightly different context.
I disagree completely. This is by far the least talented team Bill Self has had at Kansas in the last probably 15
Agreed,
years.
though.
So I'm not sure what your point. You're being a little vague in what your point is. All I'm saying is that Kansas deserves credit for this. UNC deserves blame for blowing a 15-point lead. And what's weird is that whenever UNC got ahead and got comfortable in games, with the exception of the St. Peter's game, they blew the lead. You know, these back and forth games where every single possession was back and forth, like we saw in the Duke game, like both Duke games, right? Where they had to kind of fight and crawl the whole time. They had their energy up. They came out of halftime dead as a doornail. And credit to Kansas to saying, hey, we can roll over. We're down 15. We can say that this is all she wrote, but that's not how we're going out. We're coming out here. We're playing annoying pickup basketball player kind of basketball. And credit to them. For a team that did not shoot well from three all year, to put out back-to-back 3-point shooting performances against Villanova and UNC in games that, like, yeah, I mean, UNC, they had the better team going in because of, against Villanova, Kansas had the better team going into it because Villanova was hurt, but they still had to shoot lights out from three, and even still Villanova made it close. And in this one, they get down 15, and the amount of fast break transition points, the defense, everything, they played at an extraordinary level. So I give tons of credit to Kansas. And by saying this was a choke job, I'm not trying to take away from it. But ultimately, how I'll remember this championship will not be, oh my God, Kansas was the clear front runner, best team like I felt Baylor was last year. I look at this and go, North Carolina had a chance to pull off one of the best seasons and one of the greatest single runs in NCAA tournament history. And they had a 15-point lead at halftime, and they absolutely wholeheartedly pissed it away. And that sucks. Yeah. It sucks if you're a UNC fan. But you'll always have the win over Duke, but that's the reality of how people are going to remember it.
Hubert Davis and North Carolina will be back in this position sooner rather than later.
No, because my friend just texted me, how funny would that be if he left and took the Duke job?
No,
that was really fun, guys. See ya.
Well, so I saw somebody say something similar. It was like, hey, if you win, do you just like go, hey, you know what? First year I won, I'm going to go for something more challenging and then move on to like the NBA or something, right? But I mean, this is, I will say, in a tournament that didn't have any
after Pop retires,
in a tournament that had no buzzer beaters, that had a great Cinderella run, and then all the drama was around Coach K and UNC. The fact that this is how it ended is a perfect encapsulation of how crazy March Madness is. And I don't think after watching that Kansas is the clear-cut best team. They proved it on the court in terms of wins and losses. But that was kind of, and so often in college basketball, at the end of March Madness, whoever wins the tournament, that person, whoever, or that team rather, kind of encapsulates what the whole year was. And this was a year where you had talent spread out across the board. You had a different team as number one week after week aprter week. No one really knew. And the only way a season like that can end is in utter chaos. And I will say this, April 4th is going to be whatever the opposite of a holiday is going to be that for UNC, because 6 years ago
April
today,
Fool's Day, or?
6 years ago today, Chris Jenkins buried the greatest shot in basketball history to beat UNC. And now they just gave up easily the biggest choke job in NCAA tournament history and arguably in basketball history. So with that, we will get back.
Who got the tie? Who got Jim Nance's tie, though?
No one, because it can't be Mitch Lightfoot because he's coming back for a 7th fucking year. He's like Tommy Boy. Motherfucker better walk out of Kansas with a fucking PhD. Jesus. I'm sorry. Kansas is a sneaky, unlikable team. I'm dying on that hill. But that being said, congrats to Bill Self. Recertified himself, right? It's like when you have to get it's like when you have to get your driver's license re-upped, as you get older. That's what Bill Self just did. Hey, be like, hey, remember me? I didn't just win one in 2008. I just won one in 2022. So shout out to the Jayhawks. Rock chalk. This is your time, Lawrence. God knows your football team is trash. So this is the only time you're going to get a chance to celebrate a national championship. Shout out my man, Ari Temkin, diehard Kansas fan. I know you're celebrating. With that, we'll get back to the 100th episode. So NFL draft is just about 3 weeks away. We were just discussing kind of some of our plans for it. We are going to have another mock draft. Chris Plank, old buddy of mine from SiriusXM, is an absolute stud when it comes to the NFL draft. He's going to be joining here over the next couple of weeks, and hopefully an appearance from Ryan Leaf, who many of you know is the quarterback drafted
the leaf blower
behind Peyton Manning. Awesome dude. So we're getting all that set up, excited for what's to come moving forward. But we did have some draft related news today, happened about an hour before we started recording. The Philadelphia Eagles, my Philadelphia Eagles, and the New Orleans Saints have agreed to a big trade that only involves draft picks. So I'm going to run this through you now. Try to bear with me if you haven't heard about it by this point. The Saints traded away, the Saints are receiving in this. So the Eagles traded away the 16th pick in this year's draft, the 19th pick in this year's draft. Remember, the Eagles had 15, 16, and 19. So the Eagles are giving up 2 first-round picks and a 6th-round pick this year. In return, they're getting the Saints' first-round pick from this year, which is number 18. They're also getting a 3rd-round pick this year, a 7th-round pick this year, a 1st-round pick next year, and then a 2nd-round pick in 2024. So just since we've been recording, I've gotten multiple texts from people being like, what does this trade mean? And I put out a tweet when I saw it, which is that I've been expecting this trade to happen, something like this, all offseason. I never fully believed that the Eagles would hold on to all 3 first-round picks this year. No. And there's a couple of reasons for that, right? A, the Eagles are still going to have 2 first-round picks this year, number 15 and number 18, which means they can add 2 high-level talent players in this draft. They also have the 101st pick, which is a pretty high-end first-round or 3rd-round pick. So you get another 3rd-round pick. You get a 7th-round pick. And if you look at Howie Roseman's draft history over the last couple of years, Eagles fans should actually be excited that they're getting a 3rd-round pick and a 7th-round pick because, they drafted guys like Jordan Mailata in the 7th round. They've also drafted Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders. You can go down the list. Avonte Maddox was a 4th-round pick. Quez Watkins was a 6th-round pick. The Eagles and Howie Roseman have crushed mid to late round draft picks. Where they've struggled are 1st-round draft picks. Now they get 2 shots this year still, 15 and 18. Yeah. They can address their needs. But what's important is that now they have 2 first-round picks. And that means moving forward, let's say Jalen Hurts doesn't have a great step up this year, right? Let's say the Jalen Hurts trajectory kind of tables or maybe even takes a bit of a down here. The Eagles now have 2 first-round picks in 2023 to potentially trade up and go after what is going to be a loaded quarterback class in 2023. This is a perfect trade for the Eagles. They're getting an insane amount of draft capital. The fact that they get a 2024 2nd on top of it is a sweetener on sweeteners because we have no idea what the future of the Saints looks like. So that could
why is the 7th even in there then?
Right? Yeah. And then
why is the 2 or 3? I would give one or the other. I can't believe you're getting both. Like, honestly, this is an incredible deal. And what I'm glad about, you're right. I don't think anyone expected the Eagles to hang on to all of these, but what I'm glad is that they're not moving up this year. And they're saying, you know what, we're going to go ahead. We'll take some extra capital. We'll move back. We know who we are this year. And like, listen, you still have a good team there. I really do like this move, especially the move back and not moving up. And the fact that you really gave up a 16 and 19, you got an 18. So you're moving a little bit, but then to get, again, a 1st round next year. And I really think that that'll be a higher pick than 15, right? I mean, I don't know. We'll see how the Saints do, but like, well, I don't know. Everything could change, but you never know in that division. So move on from there. Like, you got to understand too what that 2nd round means next year. That's really good.
Well, so the second rounders 2 years from now in 2024.
Oh, I'm sorry, in 2024.
Still, which again is
the fact that it exists. Yeah.
Well, it's open-ended because the thing about the Eagles is even though you change coaches or you have starting quarterbacks change, it's actually a pretty consistent organization, I would say. You know what I mean? Like they still make the play. It's not like they're making the play for the short term. And this is a great move. If you look a little, it's crazy to say long-term is 3 years, but you look a little long-term and you're saying that, all right, in 2024, this will all pay off with an extra 2. Yeah, that's worth it. Like, yes, 100%.
Oh,
and the 3 still this year. It's incredible.
And they should also be able, and the sneaky part of this as well is that it should also free up some cap space, right? The Eagles were budgeting all offseason for 3 first-round picks, right? Which means you have to budget in about around that area, probably about $4 to $6 million from 15 to 19 and that 15, 16, and 19 picks. Well, now you're going to cut out about $4 million in cap space that would have gone to a rookie this year. And yes, some of that will get filled by the 3rd and the 7th, but it frees up just a little bit that, they've been heavy in the talks for Tyrann Mathieu. So if Tyrann Mathieu ends up becoming a Philadelphia Eagle, this could
throw
be
the
a
extra
huge reason
$5
why,
million
right?
on the contract. Yeah.
Throw a couple extra in there. And I love it because it gives them flexibility. Which is why I was anticipating this move happening all offseason. I've even mentioned it on the pod before. It gives you a chance that if you if you really aren't sold on Jalen Hurts by next year, which means they'll have to decide that'll be his 3rd year after this upcoming year, which means he'll be going into his last year on his rookie deal because he was a 2nd round pick. And you don't get that 5th year control that you do with 1st round picks, right? So the Eagles will be at kind of decision-making time when it comes to Jalen Hurts. And at the same time, you're able to add 2 pieces here. And what you were saying there, Vido, right? Yeah, 18, you're getting 1 up from your 3rd pick there. You're moving 2 back from where you were going to be picking at 16. But chances are the group of players that you're targeting around that spot, one of those guys is still going to be there.
Yeah.
And you still get your first of your 1st round picks, which is at 15.
Exactly.
It's a great pick.
I think it shows a little desperation for the Saints, right? This either means one of 2 things to me. They're either moving up to get one of the quarterbacks that they're going to stretch for, I think, or to get one of the superstar wide receivers at the top end of the wide receiver group. And the Eagles, to their credit, have built enough that they don't have to worry about that right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a huge priority. If again, the difference is what 2 picks in the 1st round. So it's like, if Olave is not there, we'll get Garrett Wilson or vice versa or whatever, like if you're dead set on a wide receiver in the 1st round, like the gap is not huge. So New Orleans must have their guy that they need to move into that spot for.
I would think so too. And the last thing I want to touch on here with the Eagles too is just, if you're saying that a team that made the playoffs last year, albeit as the 7th seed, is now getting 4 first-round draft picks over the next 2 years, all
Huge.
of their young talent that they love, Dallas Goedert, Jordan Mailata, Josh Sweat, Avonte Maddox, all these guys are extended for another 4 or 5 years. So you're set up well with the young talent that you were borderline close to losing. You still have some cap flexibility. I believe they're 7th or 8th in cap space left, which they're holding 4 draft picks. But again, that number goes down losing one of these. You can add another veteran. Maybe it is a Tyrann Mathieu. And you have a team that was just in the playoffs with a 1st-year starting quarterback and a 1st-year head coach who has young talent locked up, who has 4 first-round draft picks over the next 2 years, and has complete flexibility over where they want to go, where if Jalen Hurts ends up not being the guy, then you can make a big offer without completely depleting all of your resources to go up and get Bryce Young or whichever quarterback who's going to be at the top of next year's draft class that you want to be able to get. And that flexibility puts the Eagles in such a fantastic spot where roster-wise, everyone else in the division has gotten worse. Washington's gotten worse. New York's gotten worse. Dallas has gotten worse.
Yes.
The Eagles
that's the other thing
same
too,
and might have a chance to get even better.
And
with the Eagles,
ahead,
the Eagles like giving that pick to New Orleans is like, hey, go ahead and take the receiver that Washington was going to take, like by all means, or quarterback, whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah. And in addition, like for me, what's so funny about it, to your point about the division, is the fact of you are now saying, okay, we're going to see how this goes. We're going to accumulate picks, but I wouldn't be surprised if I would say one of the picks that the Eagles just received was traded before or on draft day again. And it could be, but like, think about it. If they trade back to a 1st round next year from the Saints, and then they also get this 3, they might be like, well, all right, we basically went from a 1 to a 3 this year. What if we trade the 3 and like our own 3 next year and get back into like the early 2nd and get the guy who maybe we wanted and scouted at that 15 to 19, range that fell. And then you have Friday night to think. That's why I love about this draft, or Thursday night. I love how the draft now is on different days. Like once the 1st round is done, I love the aspect of like Friday night, like
come back and
like, all right, let's make some fucking calls. We want this guy,
absolutely. And thinking about this too, from the Saints, let's say the Saints draft used 16 and 19 to package up and they move up to 10 and they draft Malik Willis, right? All right. Well, now we're talking about Jameis Winston most likely starting at least the first half of the season, or at least a few games, coming off of an ACL tear, and then a rookie in Malik Willis, who, albeit insanely talented, also has a lot more development going with, right? Or maybe it's Kenny Pickett, right? Who might be good, who has a chance to be good, but probably isn't going to come away. It's going to be a rookie quarterback or Jameis Winston coming off of an ACL. They also just lost one of the best left tackles in football in Teron Armstead. They also lost both of their starting safeties in Malcolm Jenkins and Marcus Williams, who Marcus Williams is one of the best safeties in football. This is not the same Saints roster that we saw with Drew Brees, right?
It's drastically different.
So a first rounder next year feels like a guaranteed lock to at least be in the top half of the draft. And if the Eagles go on to have another, playoff season, then all right, then maybe they get a top 10 pick plus their own first round pick to basically say, hey, we're going to take our third first rounder this year and just push it back to next year. And we're also going to acquire a shitload of other capital is an unbelievable
you can
trade.
move the move that you just moved, right?
Yeah.
So next year, if you, depending on how your season goes this year, if you're in the back half of the draft as a playoff team again, after the 2022 season, you can be like, hey, anybody want this? Like,
yeah. And who
take
exactly
this 10 pick.
or you just use it to continue to stockpile young talent.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it's
Lord
a
knows
huge
how
win for the Eagles.
Lord knows Howie Roseman needs as much help, with first round picks. He needs at least a 50-50 shot. You need to give him a couple more bites at the apple for him to hit on first round picks. Now, he did draft Devontae Smith last year, and that ended up being a great pick. I love this for the Eagles. For the Saints, I do want to take a moment. If the Saints are sold that Kenny Pickett or Matt Corral or Malik Willis or one of these guys at the top is their guy, Desmond Ridder, one of those guys, this is an absolute great trade for New Orleans. Because in any instance, and I will say this for any team that puts together picks to go ahead and draft their guy, to move up in the draft, to draft the person that they think is their guy, I'm in support of that trade every single time. I may not agree with the team on who the guy is, but if you think it's your guy, then you have to make the trade.
Yeah,
and
you got to go get your guy.
If New Orleans turns this into just, hey, we just wanted to add some young talent, then I think it's an absolute loss. And I don't understand it. The only way this trade makes sense for New Orleans is if they use 16 and 19, which they easily could, right? You get 2 first rounders this year, and you look at a team like, I don't know, who's up there in the top 10, Washington, who is going to bet on Carson Wentz for a year, right? If you're looking at one of those teams, like, hey, we can get ahead. I think they know that Carolina, right? I mean, well, Carolina needs a quarterback too, but
yeah.
Even still, if Carolina's like, fuck it, we're just going to go ahead with Sam Darnold again this year because we don't have any other options, so we'll see. Then it's a smart move because New Orleans wants to go up and get their guy. And that's what this trade says to me, that New Orleans is going to go ahead and draft their future of their franchise. Jameis is going to have the reins. He's going to have a chance to compete for his job, but the next guy is going to be there waiting. And I think for the Eagles to recognize the position of power that they were operating from with 3 first-round picks, instead of being like Mike Maddox and John Gruden when they had 3 first-round picks in Oakland, and they ended up drafting Clellan Ferrell and Josh Jacobs and Jonathan Abrams or whoever those 3 guys were. This is a much smarter use of assets, and this is why Howie Roseman is a Super Bowl winning GM, despite the fact that I fucking hate Howie Roseman half the time. But he does stuff like this that
it's
just
love-hate, Jeff.
You gotta think them out. They wrote me back in. That's how it feels.
There are times that I question John Lynch, and I'm like, I got to take a step back and be like, you know what you're doing, man. Like,
yeah, he does. I love John Lynch.
He does.
Shout out, old Bronco.
That's our NFL news for now, and we will now transition going from high energy football. I can see the azaleas. I can hear the birds chirping.
I'm
If
here.
you're watching on YouTube, you can see Scotty is currently at Augusta. It's Masters Week, boys. It's Masters Week. And I'll say this all the time. Even though I don't love betting on like NFC championship games for football, basketball, betting on majors is awesome. And I'll say this right off the bat. Get your bets in before Thursday because you lose all the advantages as the bettor if you don't get it in before the tournament starts. Your advantage as the person betting on, which again, it's rare to have an advantage over a sports book, but I genuinely do believe if you bet early enough, listen to one podcast, ours or another golf podcast, and read a couple articles saying like, hey, here are these guys who are playing well, you can do really good things betting top 20, top 10, top 5, miss the cut, make the cut, first day.
You don't even have to do winners. Yeah.
Right. And then you sprinkle a little bit on the winners because you get ridiculous odds. And so we're going to go through here. Before we start, I do want to say a couple things here, just 2 quick thoughts, and that I want our listeners to understand like how difficult and how different the Masters is to everybody else. Right. So right off the bat, it's the smallest field for a major, right? We're talking about 70 to 80 guys. It's 70. Is that what we have this year? I think
it's a little over. Yeah.
Yeah. It usually fluctuates depending on how many of the former winners are playing. Cause you're going to have like Vijay Singh, right? Is going to be playing
Tiger.
We'll get there, Scotty. We'll get there. All right. So you got to just remember there, right? It's a smaller field. The course is the best golf course in the world for a reason. It plays unlike any other golf course. And you have to
golf course unlike any other.
2 big things, right? Every winner since 2010, so we're going on, this will be 12 years, has been ranked in the top 30. So if you're not a top 30 player, especially with how good this field is, now granted, there's a little more depth this year, but last 12 years, we've had a winner who was ranked in the top 30 in the golf world rankings, right? The other thing, 8 out of the last 10 have been top 20 guys. All right. So you really want to look at that top tier, but look at the 30 because that's where you're going to get a lot of money made for your winners. All right. You have guys like Will Zalatoris last year, who was a rookie basically on the tour. Well, actually wasn't even a full-time member on the tour. He finished second right behind Hideki Matsuyama. So there is a lot of things. You just got to remember this course plays differently than any other course. It's a lot about putting, right? It's a lot about your approach shots, getting into greens and regulations, right? If you're chipping around Augusta, you're going to have a long time. But in the case of someone like Victor Hovland, right? Victor Hovland is last when it comes to his chipping and short game around the green. But he ranks in the top 10 from fairway to green, right? So he doesn't have to chip a lot because he is really accurate with his irons. So it might be a little bit of a risk to go with Hovland because you know that his short game's not great, but he gets the ball onto the green. So it's a completely different tournament. You want to traditionally sprinkle a little bit on your big names, your blue bloods, as it were, as we're in the college basketball mindset, right, of this tournament. Your Rorys, your JTs, your John Rahms, they are all going to be deserving picks. But those 3 guys have been at the top of golf for the last 5 years, and JT and Rory even longer, and none of them have won at Augusta. So it really can be kind of a crapshoot, which is why your best friend gambling here is going to be your top 20s, your top 10s, your top 5 finishes. Now, I have a list for each top 10, top 20, top 5, and then my winners. And Vido, we know you got some golf background, but I hand selected some guys.
Let's go. That
I know you're going to love to root for. So before we get into that, though, I have 2.
You mean who I'm going to bet on? I'm definitely going to take your bet slip and take it to the bank. I cannot wait for this.
As long as I get a little 5% action.
Oh, 100%. You will get some a kickback for sure. I love this.
All right,
consulting at its finest.
Before we hit the top 20, top 10, top 5, and winners, I have 2 bets here that you can't find on FanDuel. They're kind of tough to track down, but if you can find it, they're great. Tiger to make the cut. If Tiger Woods plays, Tiger has only not made the cut once at Augusta. It was in 1996, and
the year before he won. That's 25 years ago was the anniversary of the first Tiger win at Augusta.
And it was only his second time playing. He was still an amateur at the time. All right. Other than that, every single time Tiger's played Augusta, he's made the cut, right? So it's probably going to be minus 200, 250 if he even ends up playing. But if he plays, he's going to make the cut. So you can check that off. The one, and this is one of Vido's picks, right? If it's like when you're at a restaurant and they're like, the wait staff loves this one, right? This meal. This is a Vido special. Bryson DeChambeau to miss the cut. All right.
Let's go.
And there's
fucking go.
There's a bunch of reasons for this. It's plus 188. All right. So you're getting good odds on that right off the bat.
Figured it would be good odds. Love that.
He's not been playing well. He's coming off of injury. He just did that stupid video with Dude Perfect at Augusta, which I have a lot of feelings about, and we don't have time to get into that now because those might be 2 of my least favorite groups of people on planet Earth. But all that aside, Bryson plus 188. The reason I picked this one for you, Vido, is because one of the few things that golf offers that you can get in other sports, but it's even better in golf because it's just one guy. Same thing in tennis, is the hate watchability. you can sit there and just actively root for Bryson to miss every single putt. Historically, he's putted terribly at Augusta. His numbers and all of his math and how he was going to revolutionize golf doesn't work there because they have to fill out their own yardage books, and he does a shit job of that. He's not putted well there over time. He didn't make the cut last week. He's not been playing well. He didn't even use his driver on any of the par fives, which is supposed to be his deadly weapon. So right. Bryson DeChambeau not to miss the cut, plus 188. Scotty, I know you're all over that one too, right?
1,000%.
Awesome.
1,000%. It's not even the health. Like, I just don't think Augusta is a course where he can succeed because it's so technical. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of courses on the tour, particularly on the look at the majors, like some of the U.S. Open courses where it favors like good ball strikers and big bombers at that. But like Augusta is so technical that you need to be good in every facet of the game, and he's not. I'm sorry. Like,
and he's physically just is not in good shape. Like, to give him some defense and he's just not
absolutely. Yeah.
He's played
that's why I prefaced it with that. Like, it's not even the health thing. Like, you need every aspect of your game to be so technically sound. I don't think that he's health wise is ready for that course, and B, like, just his game doesn't favor Augusta at all.
Why I love it is because I'm definitely going to bet at number one, and number two, I can't. What my hope will be is it's not that like, oh, he's injured still or something bad happens. I hope he's like gets his driver and somehow is like back and just smacks like a 400-yard drive on like a par 4 there that like goes off the back into the woods. Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see amazing ball striking that is just out driving and out hitting Augusta as a course. That's like what I want to see.
But the thing is
do that. That's what I'm saying. That's what makes
Augusta so beautiful. It's you can't win there playing that way.
Exactly.
And his whole thing
exactly.
Was like,
it'll be so funny.
And that's what he tried to do last year. And you saw it when he was at Torrey Pines last year. He was of this mindset, was like, I'm going to hit it as far as I possibly can. And I don't care if it's in the rough. I don't care if it's anywhere else. I'm just going to hit it as far as I can. The US Open he won, the one that was in San Francisco, Scotty, you might be able to remind me of what that course's name was. I think he won there. Was that where Morikawa won?
No, Morikawa won. It was the PGA at Harding Park. The U.S. Open that Bryson won. I don't remember where that was. That was 2020 though, right?
Yeah, and it was a course that most U.S. Open courses are designed so that way you can't hit out of the rough. Like, the rough is supposed to be like you might as well be in water, right? The course that day, that year for DeChambeau was not one of the hardest U.S. Open courses, and because of that, they've made it extremely hard, like we saw at Torrey Pines last year. So, Bryson, sorry, dude, you're missing the cut here. I have zero doubt that you're missing the cut. Plus 180.
Bryson missing the cut. I like that.
Zach's getting in here. He said it was at Winged Foot West Course.
Winged Foot Golf Club.
Absolutely.
New York.
All right, so that's what I have
there next week.
For the other category. Now, you can find some cool combos. I saw one that was Morikawa, and it was either Morikawa or Rory McIlroy to win outright. That was plus 900. I might sprinkle a little bit on there, and some of my picks later on might show you why. But I do like that because Rory's been playing some pretty good golf this year. All right, top 20 finish. First off, I have Zach Johnson. All right, Zach Johnson, former Masters winner. Not Zach Paca. We got Zach Johnson. Zach Johnson, former Masters winner, fantastic putter, great iron striker. One of the things about Augusta, you have to be able to hit it pretty far. In years where we saw like Jordan Spieth dominate, in years we saw Tiger dominate, you have to be able to bomb the ball like 350, right? You really have to be able to strike the ball far and get down there because those guys are playing at such high levels. Now, those guys are typically outliers when you think about the history of the Masters. So you don't have to be the longest hitter on tour. Zach Johnson knows the course. He's won there. He's got a green jacket. Top 20 for him. And I've seen him hang around top 20 at a bunch of different courses this year. It looks like FanDuel's treating him like he's one of the old hats. He's not Phil Mickelson, right, at the PGA Championship last year. He's not at that stage of his career. Is he in his 40s? Yes. But he still has enough skill that
he's
a top
captain
20
of the
finish.
President's Cup team, man.
Absolutely. And he's plus 850 to finish in the top 20. Plus 850 for Zach Johnson. This is another Vido pick next up. Harry Higgs, one of my favorite players on tour. Another guy who doesn't hit it super far. His game can be kind of inconsistent. But if he gets hot, a top 20 finish is absolutely in question for a guy like
this
Harry
pick.
Higgs.
I love this pick. He's like the average guy on tour. Like you look at him.
Vito, look up a picture of Harry Higgs right now. I'm telling you, you will love
You'd
him.
see this guy at the course every Saturday. You do.
And he
that's my guy. I've had beers with this guy. Like 3 of these guys. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, he got sunburnt on the course, right? He forgot to bring sunscreen. He got sunburnt on the course, had 3 hot dogs at the turn, threw him up on 17, and he's
still
whipping
beat
back
all
home.
of you. And he still beat you all. Yes.
Yeah.
That's Harry
and
Higgs.
he still shot a 79. Exactly.
Yeah. Harry Higgs is awesome. Look up the clip if you haven't seen it from
he's taking his shirt off.
The waste management.
The waste management. Thank you. Yeah. Him and Joel Damon taking the shirts off at the
mom was
16th
there.
hole. Unbelievable guy. Harry Higgs is an absolute Vido guy. He's plus 850. I like him. It's a little bit of a gamble because look, he's a hitter. If he's hot, he's gonna finish top 20. If he's not,
plus 850 for what? I'm sorry. Top 20.
We're going through top 20 right now. Plus 850. This is all FanDuel, by the way. All these odds are FanDuel, so that's
not a sponsor.
Sports book that we use, not a sponsor. But Harry Higgs plus 850. If he's hot, top 20 easy. If he's not, he's probably gonna miss the cut. So it's a little hit or miss, but I love Harry Higgs, and I think he'll be good. Next up, a name you're going to hear in pretty much every single list here, Kevin Kisner. Kevin Kisner is the best putter in the world right now. He's playing the best golf of his career. He hits the fairway the second most of any player on tour, but again, he's not a long ball. He hits it, I think, like bottom 10 on tour in drive distance, but he's top 2 in driving accuracy. His irons have been super dialed in this year, and that's always been his problem. If he can get from tee to fairway, and he can get from green to the hole, but it's those couple things in between. And right now he's in the top 10 and ball striking and fairway to the green in regulation. I love Kevin Kisner. I love him. And as I said before, top 30, right? That's the benchmark. Kevin Kisner's 27 right now in the world, in the golf world rankings. I love Kevin Kisner this week. If you like him, top 10, parlay top 20, top 10, I'm telling you, I am all in on Kiz this week.
That's a great call.
On top of it too, he just won the match play event he lost to Scotty Scheffler, but he was in the finals. He's won that before. I love Kiz. And Vido, another guy, just look up some videos of him. He's the best. He's the absolute best. He's arguably my favorite player on tour.
That's a great call because like the way that he plays his game, I think really favors Augusta.
Mm-hmm.
And I would actually go as far as to go top 10 on that bet. I'll hedge it with the 20. But yeah,
we'll get there, Scotty. Don't you worry. And he is plus 450 to finish in the top 20. And I feel like that might be I think that's my favorite bet of my top 20 of the 3 I wrote down. But Kiz at plus 450 to finish in the top 20.
Scrambler too.
Yeah. He's great with the short irons too. He's great around the green, and his putting, I'm telling you, he's the best putter on tour right now.
Is Tiger back or not? No, I'm kidding.
We're getting there. Top 10 finish. I have a long list here. Okay. Long list. Right. We're going to start off south of the border. Abraham Answer. He's been playing a lot of really good golf. Right now, he is top 12 in the world golf rankings. Is by far the best year of his career. He's a guy who's always had a ton of talent. Haven't quite seen it all come together. He's plus 550. I would say he's probably last on my rankings of these picks here for the top 10, but I really, really like that. Again, compared to the rest of the field, he's a guy, sprinkle a little bit on there. He's a bunch of top 10 finishes. Couple of top 10 finishes on tour already this season. I would not have him to win. I wouldn't have him top 5, but top 10, there's some decent value. I like Abraham Answer, but again, out of these picks, I'd say he's probably on the bottom. Now, Vido, I have to ask you something. Are you a lefty?
Of course I am.
I thought so. So that's why this next guy, who I have ridden in many tournaments and has won me money before, Brian Harman. If you don't know the name, he's been a really good player on tour for a while. Another top 30 guy.
I know the name. Shout out to Brian Harman in our life. Big Boss Harman is what we call him. He's when I go to Penn State, he's my friend Jess's dad. He owns a place in Top Trees. I go crash there at the boss's house. Brian Harmon is a legend, bro.
And it's
a
destiny.
legend. So
It's destiny.
and he's lefty. Yeah, I'm
He's a
in
lefty.
on this guy.
Lefties at Augusta have historically done pretty well. Mike Weir won it back in the early 2000s. We obviously know Phil's history there. There's not a ton of really competitive lefties currently on the tour. Brian Harmon is the best of them.
Bubba.
Certain way, Bubba, right? I was going to say as well, Bubba Watson won twice at Augusta. Phil Mickelson's won what? He's 4, 3. No, he's got 3. Phil's got 3. So you got 5 there between Bubba and Phil. And then you add in Mike Weir, who is a 6th. We're talking about since the year 2000, 6 lefties have won. Proportionally, there's a hell of a lot less lefties on tour than for it to just be basic random numbers, right? So lefties do have an advantage here if they're striking the ball well. It's something about the way they can kind of ship their shots. I'm thinking mainly, I think it's 13 right at the end of Amen Corner, the big dog leg left, par 5. I love Brian Harmon. He's plus 850 to be a top 10 here. He's played a lot of really good golf, and I'm a fan. So Brian Harmon, he's one of my guys for Vido. Now, Vido,
Wow,
I have a second one for you. South African guy.
Let's go.
And I knew you would like this guy. Christian Bezindahout
All
is
right.
his name. Young kid, been playing really well the last 2 years on tour in particular. He's, again, another guy in the top 30. I think they have him right now at like high 20s in the golf world rankings right now, or the world golf rankings, however it goes. You can get him for plus 1,400 to finish top 10. I love that pick. Send that one. Those would be my 2 top 10s for Vido there, which I like.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And then I have a couple left here. You always have to have a long shot as you get closer up, right? Because the odds get too ridiculous. And there's typically been, over the last few years, an older guy who has played his way into conversation. Last year was Justin Rose, kind of coming out of nowhere and all of a sudden making a push, right? We've seen it happen. Phil Mickelson 2 years ago, same thing.
Tiger 2019. I don't know.
All you have to do is look at Tiger Woods, right? But it seems unfair it's a Tiger.
The greatest golf performance ever.
Stuart Sink is a guy who a lot of people may not know. He won in Hilton Head last year, which is the RBC Heritage Invitational every single year. It's the weekend after the Masters. So it's typically not as strong of competitions, and it's a course that you can typically shoot pretty low at. Shotgun to beer on the 18th green when I was in college. NBD. We broke on late at night. I think the statute of limitations has passed, so I feel comfortable sharing this on the radio podcast. Stuart Sink, plus 2,100 to make the top 10. I'll be honest, there's not any statistical argument really for this year, other than I know he's won a tournament on tour within the last year. He's played pretty decent golf. He can still shoot low scores. And all you need him is to stick around. All you got to do is stick around. If you don't like him at those odds in the top 10, right? Or if top 10 seems too much, maybe you sprinkle a little bit on top 20. It's a hard course for older guys because the wear and tear that goes onto your body going up and down the hills is exhausting. But Stuart Sink is the old guy that, let's put a couple shekels. Kevin Kisner again, plus 1,100 for top 10. So the odds are just really good for Kiz. We're talking about a top 30 player. Yeah.
That's a good hedge.
I want to put Kevin Kisner in every single bet. Like, I love Kiz. And then the last one here is a higher ranking player, guy who has had a lot of success on the tour. An Asian player, I believe he's Korean, Sung Jae Im. You can get him at plus 490. Plus 490 there for a top 10 finish. You see him on the top 10 of leaderboards all the time throughout the PGA
he was
season.
in the Masters last year. He was right in it.
Yeah,
until Sunday.
On Sunday he kind of fell apart, but he was right on there. Absolutely. So those are my top 10 picks. Scotty, at this point, do you have any? I mean, we still have top 5 and our winners, and I think I'll get to some other guys you might be thinking of. But any other names in the top 10 or top 20 that you think we should bring up?
Yeah, a couple of guys in the top 10 and top 20 that probably weren't mentioned. I love HV3. I just
Barnard,
absolutely love the guy, Harold Barnard III. His first time playing at Augusta, and I think his game shapes up really well to compete. I'm not saying he's going to be a contender. I think he does at the very least make the cut, and I think he's good enough to make the top 20 the way he's been playing golf right now.
It's
then,
hard as a first timer though. It's really
it
hard
is.
to
It is.
play well your first time. But I agree with you.
It
I
is.
do think his game suits Augusta well.
And that's why I picked the second guy on my list that wasn't mentioned in the I'd even push this to top 10, but definitely top 20 as a guy who's played Augusta really well over the years is my buddy, my paisano Francesco Molinari. And I think he can do a really good job in playing that course and I think a top 20 is within grasp. After we saw his meltdown in 2019, yeah,
we'll get to Molinari there a little bit later too for some super long shots because there's some odds that kind of blew my mind. But I'm with you there. A bounce back. He has not really fully ever recovered from that run when he won the British Open, and he's not really been the same golfer since. But I agree. He's a weapon out there. He's kind of him. Fleetwood and Varner are probably the three guys that I always kind of throw money on or kind of hoping for and kind of pulling for, and they always seem to come up short. So I'm a little nervous about it, but you know what? I don't hate it. All right, let's move to top 5. Cameron Champ. This is, go ahead, Scotty. Vito.
I have a question. How is Bo Hostler ranked? I see FedEx Cup ranked 47. Does that mean he's in this? I can't tell if he's in or not.
I don't know. I'll see if I can. I don't think he's made the field.
Damn. Well, anyway, if he was, or in the future, bet on my boy Bo Hostler from Santa Margarita Catholic High School. Shout out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's a dope ass dude, man. Hope the best for him. He had a great year one year where he was playing as like into a major as a amateur, and it was sick. But anyway, I believe it was the Masters. Point is, he loves that course. If he's playing, I'm gonna put him in the top 20. That's all I'm saying.
He's not. But hopefully in the future, we'll be able to bet on your boy, Bo. All right, move
next
to top
year
5.
when we're there, Jeff, right?
Yeah, exactly. Cameron Champ is my first one. This is a super long shot for top 5. Dude who can absolutely smash the ball. But he's a total streak guy, right? Like he's gotten hot in one tournament just because when he wins, it's because he's dominating guys, right? Like he just comes out and has the potential to be like one of the best golfers on the tour. I saw that dude hit like a 350-yard 3-iron off of a tee at a tournament last year that he won. Not likely, but again, these are long shots. You want to throw a couple bucks down. Hey, maybe someone like that. His game up to this point probably is not going to tell you that it's going to do much. But again, these are long shots. Kiz, again, top 5, plus 2,300. I love it. I love Kiz. I'm just riding Kevin Kisner as much as I can. We have another Vido guy. Don't have to tell you much about this guy, Vido. You know him, Louis Oosthuizen, another South African. The king of finishing top 5 in majors without winning.
Yeah,
that is Louis Oosthuizen. So if you don't have him on this list, even though he's not playing at the same level he was last year, he absolutely will be somewhere on the leaderboard there within the first couple of days, and he'll absolutely hang around. It's what he does. Sprinkle, you're getting plus 850 for top 5.
Close last year.
He was right on the sides, man. Right on the side. This one, not great odds, but just somebody who I think is kind of due, and I think you can make some money if you pick him to win too. Brooks Koepka. Last time we saw Brooksy, he at the Masters at least, he was on one leg, and he still made the cut on one leg. Brooks is playing really good golf, and it feels like each week one part of his game's been really hot. Feels like he's just kind of been right around it. So this might be that perfect moment. He's won the US Open. He's won the PGA. He still needs the British Open. He still needs the Masters. He's looking for the career Grand Slam. I like Brooks here to maybe finish top 5. But again, the odds aren't great. So if you like Brooks to win, I would just say pick him outright to win rather than top 5 because it's plus 360. So you're not really getting that much value out of it.
Yeah,
Which again,
outright he's plus 2,000, I think. Right.
Yeah. He's just about plus 2,000.
Yeah.
So again, you're much more likely to get better odds on him just straight up winning. After that, I do have Victor Hovland. You're getting plus 410 with him. I explained why early on.
I like that guy, actually. Yeah.
I like Victor Hovland too. He's a character, and he hasn't won a major yet, and it feels like he's just been right at the cusp a couple times. One of these young guys is going to break through, and I think this might be his turn, but it could be him. It could be Schauffele. It could be a bunch of different guys who are still waiting on that first major.
He's a Viking, man. He's from Norway. Like, he's just
He is.
that classic guy who's like hits the ball. He's like, you see how fucking far I hit that? Fuck yeah. And then he goes up and hits it. I don't know the sport well, but I like that guy. I like his energy.
Can we create a new nickname for Victor Hovland? So do you know where he went to college?
No.
He went to
Oklahoma State.
State.
No
So I think we
way.
have to call him the Norwegian Cowboy.
I like that a lot. He's a Norwegian cowboy.
Victor Hovland.
Anything like the Rhinestone Cowboy.
I'm gonna get a Wikipedia subscription, whatever, so I can edit it and put that into his Wikipedia. Victor, the Norwegian Cowboy Hovland. I love it. Big fan of Victor Hovland. And then these last two here, Zach Johnson. If you're gonna take a guy who's won before to make one of these big pushes, who's a little bit older,
Dustin.
No, Zach Johnson plus 3,900 for Zach Johnson to finish top 5. I could absolutely see again a guy who's won here before. He's won multiple majors. He won the British Open. He's won the Masters. If he gets hot with the putter, it would take him long shot. But again, if we're talking long shots, Zach Johnson's won this before. He's at plus 3,900. Cameron Champ's never. I think this might be his first year ever playing, and he's plus 3,000. Take Zach Johnson at plus 3,900 there. And finally, the guy who I'm think is my pick to actually win, Colin Morikawa plus 410. Dude's on a heater. This is the year of Morikawa. We love him on this podcast. That is our top 5. And now we're up to our winners before we take our last break. Your boy, Scotty. Let me say this. We're going to break this up into long shots and then realistic. All right. I have 9.
My boy's Frankie Molinari. I don't know what to tell
I have
you.
8. I have 8 picks, 4 long shots, 4 realistic ones.
All right.
3.5 realistic ones. Francisco Molinari plus 32,000 to win the Masters.
Send it. He was
Put
a shot.
$3 down. Put $3
2 shots
down.
ahead of Tiger in the year that he won.
And Tiger broke him, which he's done to people his entire career. He has taken Rocco Baldelli, right? And all, or whatever. Like he has destroyed people's career.
Rocco Baldelli played for the Tampa Bay Rays, I think.
Yeah, I know. It's the wrong Rocco, but it was close enough. He's now the manager of the Twins, I think. Kevin Kisner. I've been making all these cases for Kevin Kisner, right?
Rocco Mediate. That's what it was.
Rocco Mediate. Thank you.
Rocco Mediate. Wow.
Can't believe I said Rocco Baldelli was the final strikeout when the Phillies won the World Series. Bradley
That's right.
shot him down.
I love it.
Kevin Kisner to win. I've made the case for Kiz. I don't have to say it again. Plus 13,000 for a top 30 player. Kevin Kisner plus 13,000. This is my favorite bet you can make here. I don't think he's going to win it, but for those odds as a top 30 player with the way he can putt and strike the ball, the cutthroat attitude he's been playing with, he's a South Carolina dude, right? He grew up an hour, 2 hours from Augusta. I love this at plus 13,000.
We get to $5 on worse. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely. That's another one of my Vido bets is for him to win. That's my pick for you for a guy. Cause I'm telling you, watch a couple Kiz videos and you'll love it. You'll fall in love with Kiz. Max Homa. I love Max Homa. He's been playing fantastic golf. He got a chance. He played last year, had a bad round. He's won 3 times in the last year on tour, Scotty. What are you talking about? Get out of here. His game is set up perfectly. It's just a matter of whether his putter's hot or not. I love Max Homa, plus 8,000 odds for Homa. And then Tyrrell Hatton is another wild card out there. Super streaky. Has been playing, again, up and down golf this year, but plus 9,500 for him. Those are my long shots. Again, they're long shots, Scotty. And even still, there's some solid reasoning behind it.
Your boy's in there.
Excuse me. For my final picks, Sam Burns, currently ranked at 11th in the world golf rankings, plus 3,900. We've seen him win on tour.
I like it, though.
It's a trendy pick, sure, but I like Sam Burns. He's been playing really good golf. Colin Morikawa, probably the worst value we're going to get. Well, no, we're actually, sorry, spoke too soon. Plus 2,400 here. Plus 2,400.
We love Morikawa on this podcast.
But Colin Morikawa,
Bears.
I think Colin Morikawa is the best golfer in the world right now. And if I'm getting that for him, I think it's worth sprinkling a little on. Justin Thomas. JT has been dreaming of this moment. I read an article today about him and how every single golf course he plays on, if it has a certain shot, a certain angle, he immediately equates to, oh, this is 13 at Augusta. Oh, this is what I do at 10 at Augusta. And we know about JT that he's the best shot shaper on tour. If there's ever a year for him to break through, I think it's this year. And I've grown to really like JT, and I hope he gets a major. I hope he gets Augusta because I think it just fits perfectly with him. He's Tiger's guy. Tiger comes back, having him there, it'd be very ceremonious. And of course, that leaves us with the big cat in his Sunday red, Tiger Woods.
Oh, don't even.
Plus,
I get
Let's
just
fucking
goosebumps
go.
thinking
This
about
is the
it.
bet I'm talking about.
plus 5,000 to win the Masters.
Yep.
Now,
Why wouldn't
realistically,
you
is it
just put
smarter to
anything
do?
on it?
Now, realistically, is it smarter to be like, hey, plus top 20, top 10?
Yeah, top
maybe?
20. I'll bet him on everything.
But no, it's Tiger, baby. It's Tiger all the way. If he's playing, you can't rule him out. Like, how
No.
incredible would it be if
can't.
one week from right now, we're sitting here talking about Tiger Woods winning the fucking Masters?
I don't
I
know
mean,
what I would do.
You know
that
what I would
sounds
do? I would be
amazing.
spending a lot of money because I'll tell you what, I'm going to put a lot of money on this and I cannot wait.
Because Vido made a ton of money.
Drinks on Vido.
That's right. You know that golf round I owe you? It's in Augusta. We're going big time.
Get us on to get us on.
Don't
to
even
Marion.
joke about that.
Get us on to
Hey.
Marion Golf Club at least. That's
Money
doable.
does
That's up
some
in Philly.
crazy shit.
Oh man, one day.
Mhm.
So those are mine. Scotty, I want to give you a
So-
chance because I know I just talked a lot. So I'm going to give you the floor here. I'm going to let you.
Well, it's your
give some of
podcast,
your
so
Well, it's our podcast.
I don't know. What do you think about? So what do you think about Rory trying to complete the Grand Slam? I think there's too much pressure on him. Every time he goes to Augusta now, it's just like,
I
oh,
agree,
is Rory gonna do this?
but I think we've reached past the point of it becoming like for years it was the storyline, right? Is Rory finally going to do that? There are so many good younger players and so many good players on tour, period. Especially when Phil won the PGA last year and Tiger won the Masters in 2019.
Yep.
It feels like it's always an open season, right? It feels like anybody can win it. And so the pressure I feel like has gone off of Rory from a public perspective, but whether or not in here, the 12 inches, 6 inches between the ears, that's the thing I'm worried
what
about.
Augusta is.
Yeah.
And Rory to me is if we're equating this to other sports, Rory is the Kansas of this field in the Masters. It's you're always there. You finally have a shot at it.
Mm-hmm.
Can you get over the hump?
Yeah, you know what? I actually like Rory this week. You're not getting a ton of value, top 10, not top 5.
No.
I mean, you're looking at like minus odds for top 10 finishes for guys like Rahm and Rory. But Rory's played, I think, the best golf so far this year that he's played in the last couple of years. He's driving the shit out of the ball.
Yeah.
His short game, he hit a bunker shot last week that like blew my mind. It was on a down slope.
yes.
It was just a little chip out and it rolled
Yeah.
down. It was an absolutely gorgeous golf shot. With Rory, it's always going to be how's the putter. We know he can drive. We can drive the shit out of the ball. He's worked a lot on his irons. I've heard in this offseason, that's what the rumblings on the tour has been, that he's really tried to lock in his chipping, his short game around the green and his irons, but he's driving the ball better than he ever has. And so if the putter's good and it's true that the short game and the irons have kind of melded together, I think Rory's a great pick. I will always root for Rory.
And
Corey
the other one
Connors is another one, by the way. I love Corey Connors.
The other one, I think that has put it all together already this year. And I just saw an interview with him where he was talking about how, his success, his recent success on the tour, it doesn't mean, it means a lot as in the way of like doing something that's meaningful to you, but like at the end of the day, it doesn't change you. And like, you just keep going on tour and like doing, playing these different tournaments, and like winning the Masters necessarily wouldn't change your life because it's just another accolade, and you can just throw it on the wall and you go about your day.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that talk. It's a lot of what I love about Justin Thomas in this tournament. Although I think he's playing for a little bit more, but Scotty Scheffler plus 1,400 to win. I'm all in on that.
So I love Scotty Scheffler, and I've loved him as a betting guy for basically since gambling's been legal in the state of Virginia. I've loved Scotty Scheffler because he's always perpetually undervalued. He's won 3 out of his last 5 tournaments. He won 3 out of his last 5 tournaments. He's the number 1 golfer in the world right now. And yet he is as humble, as like nonchalant as anybody on tour. But even the most humble, down-to-earth people still feel pressure, and they still feel the heat. And he's also going to be an incredibly trendy pick. And there's going to be a lot of people. So sure. I don't think the value is there for the golfer, but you don't say no to the hot hand. And it's inarguable to say that the dude is not playing the best golf on the earth right now. Right now, wake up. He's probably the best golfer on planet Earth. But before this stretch, he had never won on tour. And now he's won 3 out of his last 5. I don't think it's realistic that it could continue. And I also think because he's played so well, the top 5, the top 10, the top 20 bets have become all shitty value picks, which is why I don't love him from a gambling perspective. But as a golfer, I love Scotty Scheffler, and I'm absolutely behind him. And I would love to see him put on the green jacket. I think it's fun. I think it's a good call. All right. Masters week. Get ready for Thursday, y'all. I'm so excited.
A tradition unlike any other.
Tradition unlike any other. And like traditions unlike any other, we got random life shit coming up after this break, as well as a new game debuting. Real or fake? The boys will decide next. Wrapping up the pod. Great national championship, assuming we're still recording this before the game. But again, we're just assuming great national championship. You know the winner at this point. We'll have talked about it. This has been an awesome 100th episode. We've had a ton of fun. I think when we finish this up, we're going to be like, yo, this has been easily one of our favorite episodes to do. And we hope that you guys enjoyed it as well. Thank you again for all the support over the year plus, and 100 episodes. And, you know, boys,
we love you. Cheers
to 100 more.
Cheers.
By the way, we all have finished our bottle of champagne at this point. So
yes, we have.
We are, we're a little drunk on this episode. Not drunk.
Mine was cider. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, YouTube. We're on YouTube now. Sorry, YouTube. It's just cider. I have some random life things. I got some backlogged random life shit because whenever I see something, I just quickly jot something down, and I edited out some, and then we have a new game called Real or Fake, and we're gonna try to do this every once in a while when the right topic comes up to do it on. But me and my roommate had too much fun doing this the other night when we saw it, so we'll get to that in a second. But random life shit. First one, and I think I've told Scotty about this idea before. Me and my roommate were hanging out one time, and we were going back and forth, and we were talking about what would be the coolest brewery setup. And I think I cracked it. I think I cracked with the coolest brewery setup. And my first thought was like, imagine a brewery up on the top of like a hill, right? Out in the countryside. In Virginia, you get a lot of those. So a lot of the breweries I've gone to look like that. And you have
Castle on the Hill.
Castle on the Hill. There we go. Shout out to JMU Overtones. And you got this great scenic view, right? And you have the thing, you go get your beers, and then it's this big open field, and then it kind of drops off onto a hill. And I thought, how freaking cool would it be if you set up a par 3 right off the side of the brewery, right? Little 160 yard, right? Yeah, like a little big steep drop off, right? You get like, it doesn't have to be super nice, but you put a hole down there, you make a little green, and then you can go and charge, you can go find an old like
promotional activity.
Yeah, you go find like a closing driving range, and you buy one of the old golf ball pickups, right? And you spend a little side money. You don't have to go super crazy on keeping the greens super nice or anything.
Right.
And then you go off, you have this little mini driving range, a couple of slots, and people are just trying to get hole-in-ones, right? People just go up, you spend 15 bucks on 20 balls or 25 balls, whatever. You got your beers in hand, you get the music going, and you're just, boom, you're just whacking little shots right on down to the par 3. And then if you get a hole-in-one, you get like free beer for a month or something like that.
And you could even do like closest to the hole competitions and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Throughout the day.
I agree. I just feel like you make it in, you get some type of reward, and I would spend so much money. I would easily pay for whatever the reward was in golf balls. You're right. Like that is a brilliant idea. Where is that? It's not Top Golf. Let's be clear. It's different. It's classier. It's like a real green. You just have a guy whipping around every like 20 minutes in the ball pickup. Man.
Right? You just go
That'd
get
be
some
so
shitty
fun.
practice range balls. You got to find like a local like driving range that's closing.
Yeah.
And then you just go and you're like, yo, let's just load everything up. Right. And then you just buy all their shit, the little ball retriever.
Especially like a winery, man.
Yeah.
There's so much potential there.
Now, a more expansive idea that I had off of this was, what if you made 3 par 3s around like the side of it, right? It's hard to do without being able to picture it, but like you're looking out and you have this beautiful view and it goes down a hill and you have like 3 holes that kind of take you around the outside of the property. And then it brings you back. And then you
and then you wind back up at the bar.
That's what I mean. And then you come back and you're drinking again.
And it's walk only. You just walk over there. No big deal.
Yeah.
That
you get them to get some pitching wedges and putters. If you want to bring your own, you can. But Top Golf, way too expensive. I would do that over Top Golf any day of the week.
I would do that over Top Golf.
Because it's more of an event.
Price, just because it's more fun to play a hole out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Because in that one, you would play it out. But if you're hitting it off, it would almost be like a driving range onto a par 3. So that would be a little Top Golf-esque, but at least you have like a hole and it's a green.
It's a real green. Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
Yeah. And you maybe have a buddy who like used to work at a golf course or something. You got to do some research and figure it out. But I think
I love this.
Golf course management, Penn State, hire one of us.
Boom.
PGM.
There you go.
I love this. And also model it after famous par 3s around the world.
Yes.
That'd be
like
sick.
the 7th at Pebble.
Is you can do 7 at
Pebble,
Augusta.
Yeah.
I think sick. All right. So we're all on board with that. The next one so there's a local bar that I bartended at. I've done some work with really nice people. It's called the Casual Pint. Shout out the Casual Pint. I had a moment there because I know one of the managers and they're always like, man, I don't have like music really to like, we're always like cycling through. We don't have a good playlist. Well, your boy has a like 500 song playlist that has every genre imaginable. So about a year ago, I tell them about this playlist. Now, every time I'm there, they're playing my playlist. So is there a better bar setup than being able to go there, sit at a bar, watch a game, and your own music is playing at the bar?
There's nothing better. That's the number one complaint I have when I go out. Dude, are you kidding me? You cracked the goddamn code. Mm-hmm. You know how many dollars I spend
Those stupid, the touchstones
oh my God.
thing.
Any bar I'm in, I'm taking over for the next fucking hour. No one speak, no one say anything. I'm paying to skip you. I don't give a fuck.
And then other people can skip your shit too.
Oh my God.
You're like, well, I was waiting for Rosalita. Now they just skip, you know what I mean? You don't.
Oh yeah. Like for me, it was
tell them the story about
Spears got freed. And so we all played Free Britney. We were going in. So we walk in. It's Britney, bitch. Bum, 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 bum. And like we walk in, we're into it. We blast all this stuff. We're skipping this group song. And I saw it because I skipped it. And they were playing like full AC/DC, Aerosmith. Like they were there for a good old school time. And we ruined their fucking night by playing early 2000s Britney Spears. It was majestic.
Tell them about the Meek Mill story.
Oh my God.
With that playlist.
So I asked my buddy to come on, right? And the one thing about this playlist is it is my playlist, so it's not kid friendly necessarily.
Yeah.
So the bartender happens to be from Bucks County, Pennsylvania, which is the same area I grew up in. She grew about 15, 20 minutes away from it. And my buddy and we went, I think we played disc golf or we'd met up for a beer. We hadn't seen each other in a while. And we're sitting there and it's super busy. It's like a Saturday afternoon at like 6 o'clock. So it's super busy. And this place again is like, it's like a brew bar. It's like not a brewery, but it's just a craft beer bar. And then they have some like bar food.
Okay.
I'm sitting at a high top and the place is packed. And then all of a sudden I hear ain't this what you've been waiting for? You ready? Right. So I'm like, in my head, I hear that and I get hyped because it's Dreams and Nightmares by Meek Mill.
Yeah.
But the thing is the manager / bartender is also from Philly. And after that first second of, oh yeah, I get hyped, it's the song, to realizing, oh my God, there's about 10 children in this bar and Meek Mill is about to drop every single curse word that exists in the English language here.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
And also we'll get everyone else so hyped that every adult here will also do the same.
So me and the bartender, while she's running around, we both make a beeline to the iPad, which is their like cash register that is also controlling the music. And we just happened to meet there because we both knew. We were like, we can't have this with children running around the bar.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's one thing if like a casual curse word comes in, but that song, as much as I love it, is not kid friendly. And at like 5 or 6 o'clock, an early summer night on a Saturday, as much as I love it,
great.
I'm not going to put kids through that.
That's great. One of my favorite stories. Unbelievable, Jeff. What's next on your docket?
Next on the list. Scotty, this one won't apply as much to you because you're married and you're out of the dating cycle. But Vido, I'm curious, and you can obviously share your opinion too. Scotty, but Vido, I've been on dating apps. I still might have a couple active on my phone. Every once in a while, you'll scroll through the dating apps.
Grindr.
And love is love. And all of a sudden, you'll see two girls that'll be like, we're roommates and we're on here together and we're looking to double date. And I'm not trying to poo-poo it. Everyone deserves love. Everyone deserves to find somebody. However you can make it happen, right? But I genuinely want to know, has there ever been a happy couple that met with two roommates meeting two other guy roommates? Because if two hit it, if one couple hits it off, then immediately it's going to be awkward for the other ones. If you meet up with one of them and then the other one's interested in your roommate and vice versa, then you're doing a whole nother awkward thing. I can't imagine the success rate for this is high at all.
Well, I actually think that your points make it that it is successful, just not in the conventional way. I feel like exactly what you said. You also, not only do you have one date, you have two dates, and both people are with someone that is comfortable with them. So instantly they're going to be a little looser, a little more fun. And you can be too, because your bro's there and you're like, hey, after this, fuck it. If this sucks, like we're going back, we're drinking, we're playing cart, like we're going off. Whatever you got to do. But the point is that when you're out there, I bet you they're more loose, they're more fun. And let's say you don't hit it off with the person you're with and your roommate doesn't hit it off with that person. Maybe you just swap people and start talking. Like there's no big deal. I feel like early on in dating apps, there's no hard feelings if you meet up with someone and you're just like, we're very different people, right? Yeah. Like we are very different. And you know what? That's cool. Like I thought I knew you, whatever. It's not a big deal. No hard feelings. I actually like the efficiency of this.
Okay.
And I wish it works out. I hope it works out. I've never done it. I've never gone on one, but it's inspiring to me.
So you're saying it's like the first date equivalent of like swingers.
Kinda, yeah.
It's like you're just gonna go in.
It's not like a speed
dating,
dating, because speed dating is like a something I won't say version of first date. But the point is that like if you're gonna go out and see a bunch of people, that's really quick. You don't get to see much, or like to have two people there. That's pretty good. I actually like that.
And then you got to spend money on two dinners.
It's like the next bus from back in the day.
Yeah, but then
on
how
MTV.
does the second date work? Like, what if both couples hit it? Are you stuck then doing double dating? Do you have to branch off?
But what if you will naturally?
What if you have what if one first date goes great and then the other one goes terribly? Mm-hmm. And then like the other one goes great and they want to see each other again, but the other one's like, no, fuck that person. That was a terrible first date. But then you're kind of stuck seeing each other again.
But that's
because your friends are dating, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, I hate their friend, and then it's just. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it feels kind of awkward.
The first blind date I ever went on was in high school, and I remember seeing this girl, and we hung out. But I hadn't seen. Let me put it this way: I did not know her beforehand. I went on a legit blind date. My girl Carrie Ann set it up. Carrie Ann Casey, shout out, and we went to this bar, and we realized we were exact opposites. We were not getting along. There was no way, right? Like we actually like. I don't dislike most people in the world, and I don't dislike her by any means, but we just like instantly knew like we butt heads on almost everything. I see her 2.5 years later at Ohio State. I grew up in Southern California, so this was a surprise. I'm in Ohio State. I'm walking across campus. I'm with my boy Luke and his family, and this girl yells Vido, and I turn and look, and it's this girl who I went on a blind date with, and it went awful. And guess what? We had so much fun that day. We were much later in our lives. We were all that stuff. And my point is that even that happened with a girl who I was hanging out with and my guy friend was hanging out with, and they were dating, and we met and we saw each other after, and it wasn't weird. It wasn't that bad. I think it's
you've
worth
convinced
the risk
the cynical,
for success.
You've cured the cynicism in my heart on that one, Vido. Maybe it's just a cynicism towards dating apps altogether, because I typically am not a big dating apps guy. All right. This is a quick one. I was watching ESPN. I to be honest, I don't know when I wrote this down. I think it might have been an NBA game or something. And there was a commercial that was like a LeBron-esque, like, like LeBron, if there's an ad for him with Nike, it's all dramatic and it's big. And then at the end, it's like, just do it. And it's LeBron like dunking or something, right? But it was for Jesus. And it was like, do you know what I'm talking about? It is the most absurd commercial I've ever seen.
It's like, imagine if somebody didn't care about like what your like life was like before, what your beliefs were, and the other people just like decided to hate, and it was like, and it was a Jesus commercial. It was bizarre. I was caught aback by it.
It was so bizarre, and it was super intense, and it was weird. And the only thought that came to mind is not like, hey, it's wrong or that anything. Whatever, believe what you believe, and I don't care about that. Why does Jesus need a commercial to make him more popular? Isn't he like inarguably the most famous person?
Yeah,
but isn't he arguably the most famous person in the world? Isn't Christianity the most like recognizable?
Michael Jordan.
Well, I would say this.
No, Jesus is by far the most famous person in human history.
Over Michael? I don't know.
He was back in the word, like basically like the spoken word gossip circles, eventually to like, when the paper press was made.
He never got marketing he deserved.
No, Jesus blew up when the paper press was made. Don't get me wrong. But like after that, like, is he on social media? I don't know. I can't tell you how many posts I've seen from Jesus.
Great follow on Twitter.
Yeah. And I guess the point is maybe he does need some new cred. I'm glad someone's out there. This is where the Vatican should be spending some money. Let's get some new age commercials during NBA finals, during Super Bowls. Trust me, the Vatican has enough that you just need to get out there. And you know what, Jeff, that's a good point. We should see more Jesus commercials. Because even though he's popular, I think his reputation is that.
Be careful what you wish for.
Well, no, it's a guy who wore sandals back in the day and was like, "What up? I'm here. I'll turn water to wine when I'm 30, and then you'll hear from me for a couple of years." And I'm out.
That was kind of the gist of the commercial. It's like this dude was just like chill and like cared about everyone.
So, in case you're wondering, at Jesus on Twitter is Jesus Christ. In his bio,
it's Kanye West.
It says carpenter, healer, God. Right,
I heard a joke one time.
766,000 followers following 0 people. I mean, what does that have to tell you about Jesus? He clearly, if he really loved us, he would follow us all back.
Yeah, he would.
He's not an influencer.
Also, I heard a joke one time. This is kind of true. It's like, dude, if Jesus was a carpenter till he was 30, how come no one fucking kept his work? Like, it must have been really bad if it was like, well, like, dude, I don't know. We kept a lot of shit from back in the day in the Roman times. And it's like,
maybe it burned.
No, maybe we should have kept all of Jesus's work. He was kind of like a savior, or like, but then the point was like, or is he just kind of shitty at carpentry? And they're like, nah, this table's a little unlevel. We're just going to buy it from Jesus to make him feel good.
I'll be honest. I just looking through some of his tweets right now are pretty hilarious. Someone tweeted at Jesus, what shots are we doing? This is on Christmas Eve, by the way. At Jesus, what shots are we doing at midnight? Need to know what to eat first. See you later, Jay. His response, spiked nog, 2 birds, 1 stone.
Jesus would.
It sounds like I need to follow Jesus on Twitter now.
God damn it. Maybe this is the key.
Everyone
we got
Jesus on Twitter.
2 more random life shit. This one involves a question for both of you. So you guys know the story. And I might have mentioned it on the pod when I was down at the beach, but I got to the beach house a couple weeks ago and I go out for a walk and I hang a hard left, and about 100 yards down the stretch is a fucking seal beached at the Jersey Shore. Now, this thing was as cute as hell, right? I get why they called them like sea pups, because holy crap, might have been cuter than any dog I've ever seen. So my question to you guys is, what was the most wild, and Vido, seeing as you've been to Africa a bunch and stuff, you might have a different answer, but what was the most, because to me, that was probably the most wild / intimate moment I ever had one-on-one with like an animal like that, and it's a seal. Like, we're not even talking about anything crazy here. Do either of you guys have a story here involving a wild animal that you just happened to stumble across and then had this cool one-on-one moment with?
I mean, the one that jumps out is one time, it wasn't alone, but we were in this like RV and a rhino came and just started ramming the tires on our side because like that's what it does to like scratch its head, and it just like rams you and you're like shaking violently. And this is in South Africa. This is like mid-COVID outbreak, by the way. This is like March of 2020.
This is like as it was happening. Yeah.
As it was happening, we're like, oh, what more outside can you do than a goddamn safari run? And this thing's just slamming into us. And the other one, I'd say it's most beautiful, by the way. If anyone gets the chance, it's microscopic life, but bioluminescence in
Oh, yeah.
California. I was at it was at Catalina, fucking Catalina wine mixer. It was at Catalina. It was a 7th grade science camp. And we did night snorkeling, and you would swim and move your arm, and right in front of your arm, like trailing behind it would be like neon green. It looked like if you've ever been at a rave, it's exactly where you would want a rave to be. Like, it was so fun to see, and it was beautiful. It was honestly the most beautiful thing.
That's
so those
awesome.
2 things of like the encounters with nature are mine. What about you, Scotty?
I've been noodling, like, that, like where you go to the water and you stick your hand in and you try to fish just with like your arm,
like
and
for catfish and stuff, and you
Yeah,
stick
yeah.
it into the box,
No
and
way.
then that
Yeah.
would give me extreme anxiety and
Mhm.
nightmares.
Oh, I don't mind
forever.
that. It felt,
I'll share
it
this
felt
on the
really
pod.
nice, actually.
I've shared this on national radio, so I might as well share it on the pod too. I have a pretty bad and severe phobia of fish. So,
Oh, really?
That one, yeah.
Well, I'll never ask you to go fishing.
No, please. Well, that's the weird thing. I like fishing as long as someone will take the fish off the hook for me. I
bro.
can't do it. But I physically love the act of fishing, which is which is such a bizarre. I just can't.
Drinking beer. That's
I had this thought when I was a kid. Like, I remember being like 8 years old and having this thought that, like, me pulling a fish out of water and holding it up and being like, fuck yeah, look at this fish, is like the same thing as if like a giant hand came down out of nowhere and picked me up and held me underwater, and someone was like, dude, look at this fucking human I caught. Like, that's how, like, as an 8-year-old, minus the curse words, like, that's kind of like where my brain went.
Did you guys remember Master Hand from like playing Super Smash on N64?
Super Smash, yeah.
I'm not kidding. That's Jeff, that exact relation. I was like, dude, this is just the hand. Like, that's why I actually just always catch and release unless I go to cook it, whatever. Like, if it's big enough, and I'll eat it that night, because I just don't feel like holding a fish that's like going to, I always like kill it right away. I don't know. I don't deal with that stuff. Like, I don't like that part of it. But what I do love, without a doubt, is like that act of it. And then also
the fight
just knowing
and stuff.
Yeah, like that's fun.
Super fun. Like, that's what I mean. Like, fishing is super fun. I went fly fishing before. That's amazing. But yeah, just if I'd caught, like, I remember I was at the beach house and my dad and I were surf fishing, which is great. You're right on the beach there. And my dad's like, all right, I'm gonna head in. And I was like, I was having fun. And I was like, the thought occurred to me a little bit later on, like, shit, like, what if I caught like a sand shark? I'm like, I had to have a knife with me where I'd just be like, nope, cut the line and get the hell out of the water, because sand sharks get caught all the time at Jersey Shore. All right, last one, super quick. The other night, I was at Giant. Some dude rolled up, parked in a handicap spot without a handicap sticker. He was like 20 years old. Saw him get out of his car. I was in a rush, so I didn't say anything. But I got in the car and I went, should I have said something there? What do you do if you see somebody do
I hate
something
that
like
guy.
that?
I hate that guy.
This was a wide open parking lot. It was at like 10 o'clock at night. Like, he could have parked anywhere.
It's just the entitlement of it. Like, get out of here with that. Like,
dick move.
I think not only, like, it's a weird situation, right? Because getting into the real deal, do you wait around to see something? And I feel like what you always do is a drive-by, excuse me, and just be like, was it bad? You know?
Yeah.
Like, was it like one of those things where it's like, oh, you accidentally like tapped them, right? Not a big deal. Or like you crunched.
But we live in a society.
No, my point is whether you wait around or not. Where's the line where you wait around or not to tell someone? Because I'm with you, Jeff. If there's not body damage, I'm like, listen, this sucks.
Well, he didn't hit somebody. He just parked in a handicapped spot.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said he hit someone. No.
He just parked in a handicapped spot without a handicap sticker.
Listen, that guy sucks.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
I think that it's legal. It's legal to get fined, right? I think it's like $350 minimum. I feel like also the police should just be like, and anyone who slashes your tires, it's legal. Sorry. Like,
you get what's if your car gets keyed, then you've deserved that.
Key, because slash the tires, we actually want you to move, so we don't want you to stay there. But yeah, you can take off both side mirrors and key the car on both sides.
Maybe crack the back window. You know, like the back right window. That's like not that important, really, unless you're
if it's a van. Yes, if it's a van, yes. A 2-seater, you can't do it. Do it. We can't do it. No.
All right. Yeah, no. It's just like I was walking out, and it was one of those things where I had walked past him as he was getting out of his car, But if I had been like 30 seconds before, I totally would have said something and been like, dude,
Hey, man.
what are you doing? But then I also think like, well, what is that going to solve? Am I going to change that guy's mind? So it's like, do you just say the moral thing? And is that selfish to make myself feel better? Or, it was so I was just
Catholic
curious.
guilt, Jeff.
I just
Catholic
went
guilt.
Catholic guilt. Back to the Catholic guilt. All right. All right.
It's
To
all
wrap
good.
up the pod, new game, real or fake? This was spawned about a week ago, as we've teased on the pod for the last week or so. A band I saw called Mime Rock was playing this venue called Otto's Bar. Shout out to Otto's Bar up in Baltimore. Great show, but they're like an indie, like pop punk band, right? Like if they came out in like 2007 or 2004, they'd be undeniably, their music is so good, they'd be like a world famous band. They really are that good.
Now you're speaking my language.
But in today's day and age, it's become like indie music, right? So it's a small venue. It max holds like maybe 100, maybe 150 people. But we saw a flyer on the wall that had upcoming events, and some of the band names on there were just ridiculous, right? The band we saw was called Mom Rock, right? Already a hilarious name. So I decided I'm going to take 3 of the names, because I took a picture of the flyer of all the upcoming artists. I'm going to take 3 of the most ridiculous names I could find on there. And then I was going to make up 3 other ones. And I want to see whether you guys get real or fake. All right. So how do you guys want to do this? Do you guys want to go one at a time? And then I'll tell you whether it's real or fake.
Yeah. Let's do one band name at a time. Let me and Vido decide.
All right.
Yeah, let's do that.
First, band number 1. Proper nouns. Real or fake?
Real.
That's fake.
It's real. Proper nouns. Real band.
Ah,
How about it?
a
Proper
real
nouns.
band. Like
That sounds like a real. Yeah, that's got that vibe.
Proper noun. Like what a ridiculous. All right.
nominal adjectives. Like what's next?
All right. Band number 2. Desktop Unicorn.
Fake.
I feel like I should tail Vido, but I'm gonna fade him. That one's real.
That is fake. Desktop Unicorn
God.
is not a real band.
Sounds so
Desktop
mainstream.
Unicorns.
Sounds so.
It sounds so mainstream.
Vido's gonna be way better at this game than I.
Well, he's
will
already got a
forever.
2-0. He's got a 2-0 lead right now. All right. Next up, Shoe Polish.
28-3.
Shoe Polish Cousins.
Fake.
That one's real.
That is fake. Vido 3-0. Crushing this. All right. Soundbar Shot Glass.
That has to be real.
I'm feeling real as well.
That is fake.
Ah,
Vido, no longer
sorry.
undefeated.
Went against my.
I'm over.
All right. Next up, Sloth Rust.
Yeah, it's real.
It's real. Clearly.
That is a real band. That is a real band. Sloth Rust. An
Sloth
absurd.
Rust.
It's still a ridiculous name for a band.
But see, the thing is here's the deal. Creative people are in bands and they come up with creative band names. And so I feel like the crazier ones, you're like, that can't be fake. Like, it's so good.
I don't know. Desktop Unicorn's pretty ridiculous, and yet you sniff that
Red
one.
Hot Chili Peppers.
That's good. It's a good point.
That's a
All right.
really good one.
Last one. Mustard Plug and Cat Bite.
Yeah, it's real.
It has to be real, just based on my record. But yeah, that's a stupid name.
That is a real band, and that is an actual name that somebody.
That's wild.
Mustard Plug and Cat Bite. What an absurd name. That is all we have. Super long pod, but it's the 100th episode, so we went long. I can't say again enough how thankful we are for you guys tuning in, listening with us, coming along for a ride. We hope
Yes.
you like the YouTube stuff. Subscribe, rate, review, all that stuff for the podcast, and share the YouTube channel out. I know a lot of people nowadays like watching
Click the bell.
podcasts. Click the bell, get the bell on. People like watching podcasts as much as like listening to it. I know I feel that way with some pods as well. But again, I cannot say thank you enough. And I know you guys feel the same way. This
Yeah,
has
man.
been super fun. And
It's
just
been a fun ride. It's
really
been a
has.
really fun ride, and to hit the 100th episode on national championship night of NC2A basketball, which is one of my favorite events of the entire year, is the tournament, and then on Masters Week too. Like we couldn't have planned this any better, and we didn't plan it. Like, it was just like a matter of coincidence. And I'm just super grateful for everybody that stuck around and listened and gave us the opportunity to get to 100 episodes.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Vido, any parting words for the listeners as we wrap up the 100th episode?
Love you guys. Love all the listeners. Love Jeff. Love Scott. This has been a blast, and I can't wait to get to 200. We're gonna keep going. We're not stopping.
Oh yeah.
now.
Here's to another 100 episode. Thank you for everybody who's listened. This has been so much fun, and the best, as they say, is yet to come. We got better, bigger, awesome things coming. And hopefully, maybe we just need to rename the pod Mustard Plug and Cat Bite. I think that
Mustard
Plug. We'll do like a cross. Maybe I can get them on the pod. We can ask them where they came up with the name. But we're gonna do that with some other stuff. I think maybe craft beers in the future. Come up with some funny ones, real or fake. But nonetheless, super fun. Thank you guys for listening. We will be back on Friday with episode 101. What a wonderful tournament. Enjoy the Masters. Get your bets in before Thursday. I'm telling you, there's money to be made.
Unlike any other.
For the boys, I'm Jeff. We love you. We thank you. Take it easy, everybody.